All right, here we go. DJ Akademiks, welcome back to Vlad TV.
It's good, Vlad.
Hey, man, I did your show last time.
Yeah. When's the last time I've been here?
Oh, man, it's been like maybe 3 months, 4
3
months? Something like that. Yeah, it's been a few.
Back again, man. Back
again. Well, a lot to talk about today, but first, something interesting came across my desk when it comes to Lil Durk. Well, because we already know the overall case, the murder for hire case, and the 5 co-conspirators and everything else. But recently, the feds filed a new superseding indictment, which is stalking resulting in death. They also removed the allegations that his lyrics were somehow involved or somehow glorified the situation. Now, Drew Finling was here recently, and he talked about how basically the original lyrics didn't have the Quando Rondo scream, that those were added later on by some YouTubers. So they removed the whole, music reference altogether, and he's actually trying to get the case dismissed. But there's something very interesting about the superseding indictment, which you may not know. So I went through it very carefully, and the one thing that's not really covered by anyone is this. The original indictment is now missing paragraph 9. At the direction of defendant Banks, defendant Wilson would pay the bounty or monetary reward and or cause payment to be made for the killing of SR. That was Lil Pop. On behalf of co-conspirators known and unknown to the conspirators hired to kill TB, Quando Rondo. Essentially, this is the line that sets up the payment for the murder for hire. And now the feds have taken that out completely out of the new indictment. What do you think about that?
Sounds about right to me. I've told everybody from day one that this particular case is going to be, let's see who gonna get to the witness stand. Who's going to make it there?
Yeah.
Who's going to be speaking? However, listen, I don't want to give no ideas or nothing, but the only way Durk beats this is the witnesses got to stop witnessing shit.
Right.
Let's be honest. Like, there's nothing that puts him there. There's no smoking gun that says, go to kill these guys.
Right.
They don't have him saying anything directly, whether on an intercepted call, whether direct text messages. Everything has some plausible deniability where he can say, man, we're doing business. I go out to LA to record music, do podcasts, promote my brand. I'm not doing any murders. Yeah, I'm friends with guys that do what they want, but I don't tell them nothing to do. And also for the idea where the feds might say, well, you have the motive to go do something. Well, they do too. We all share the same friends. If they chose to go take a shit, I don't tell them to go use the bathroom. They could do what they want as well. So he has a good amount of plausible deniability unless, and this is where when you read the original indictment, you see a bunch of people who are unnamed, but they're called co-conspirators. And one could only reasonably, deduce that those are the guys who have now spoken to the feds, worked out deals, maybe they got other cases, other situations, and they have given the story to the feds to say, hey, Durk did A, B, C, and D. Now, those people are gonna have to make it to the stand. Now, I'm pretty sure they've probably signed some affidavits, right? That says, hey, I'm signing to this because they got, they did a proffer or, they sat in a room and told it all. But you're gonna have to say it on the stand. And who knows? I think this trial is not gonna go to, it's not gonna go to trial in October, unlike Diddy's trial, which is kind of like really kind of cut and dry. And they actually think that the government has a whole bunch of nothing and they're only relying on Cassie. When it comes to Durk, the longer you could wait, it's probably gonna help Durk.
Yeah.
It's gonna help him to say, maybe these witnesses catch amnesia. Maybe they get ill. Maybe they forget to show up to court. Maybe somebody in jail trips them and they fall in the shower. Who knows? So I've thought that from day one. What this kind of tells me when you tell me that, they're probably having some complications as it goes with their witness.
Right. Because a murder for hire involves a payment.
Yeah.
Of some sort. And if suddenly people can't stand behind their story of a payment, then it doesn't connect Durk directly with the case. He was not there. He was not at the shooting. He did not meet them afterwards to talk about the shooting at the In-N-Out. He was at a house, at an Airbnb in, I think, Woodland Hills or something. So he wasn't even in the vicinity of where it happens. I mean, the only thing is that he essentially flew in on a private jet with the guy that put it all together.
Let me give you another angle, Vlad. This might be proof that OTF is standing 10 toes down. Everybody's keeping it solid. So the first indictment that basically was insinuating that there were people telling, that's also a strategy the Fed's gonna use when they pick up 6 new people. Hey, they're already telling, so why don't you tell too? These guys are already telling on. So we already have people telling. This is your last chance to tell. Everybody else is getting life.
Yeah.
It appears that maybe, because here's the thing too. Go back to what you just said, which is that paragraph that I vaguely remember at this point. That paragraph was saying, and this was the whole plot, they said Diddy was supposed to get these out-of-town shooters to join in or commit this hit, and they were never gonna ever deal directly with Durk, they were gonna deal with Diddy, right? Now, the Fed's game was the shooters are already telling, which then falls on Diddy, which you're gonna say, Diddy, well, yeah, they're kind of telling on Durk, but before they tell on Durk, they're telling on you. So you need to flip. I think they wanted Diddy and Vonnie to flip. Vonnie came on a plane with Durk. Diddy supposedly hired the shooters. If either one of those flipped, it's gonna be a long day for Durk. What it appears is that maybe they're just not getting, the favorable cooperation. And again, this is gonna hinge on cooperation. If they had a smoking gun, trust me, they would have put it in one of the detention. I've read all the detention hearings or memorandums for bail or oppositions of bail, and none of them actually have any substantial, like, oh, wow, we got him. It's all, yeah, Durk flew on a plane, he had reason to want this guy dead, and we think the people who killed him or the people who was around him, he must have known, and he's kind of known for bragging about this stuff. This is kind of all loose variable type of stuff that I don't know if you could hold somebody dead to rights or really convict him beyond a reasonable doubt for. So, again, but the feds do play different.
Well, right, because me and Drew Finley talked about this. The nonsense that you've seen on these stands with like Lil Woody or Megan's friend that had one story one day, they get on the stand and suddenly forget and change their story and all that, does not work that way in the feds. You tell your story, you're locked in, you get on the stand, you say exactly what you said before.
You just don't see that in federal litigation. People are locked in. I mean, they are locked in. They're in front of grand juries. There are multiple interviews. So you're looking at false statement cases. You're looking at perjury cases for the person if they do a 180, right?
They're also doing something really interesting, and I actually like it, even though I like Durk, because they're playing the game so well, and also they're so in tune with what the opposition, and I'm gonna say opposition tongue-in-cheek wise because we're talking about lawyers here. They know what Durk's lawyers are trying to do. For example, Drew Finley came on my podcast as well, like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Durk posted something on his Instagram. They see it. They know what's going on. Durk and his PR team is trying to put out an image and put out a message saying, Durk is wrongly prosecuted, and he's only prosecuted because of lyrics. You guys have seen this before, YSL and other things. This would drum up some public outcry. People would be like, yo, what's going on? Demand more answers, make the process a little bit whatever. Also, that might rattle some of the witnesses who then feel like they have to, stay on code. What they did that was really interesting that YSL prosecutors didn't do, they stayed in court for hundreds of days talking about lyrics. They even played the songs. You know what the prosecutors did? Durk filed a motion to dismiss saying, you guys use lyrics with a fan-made video. They went back in that week and got a new superseding indictment and removed the lyrics completely. What does that prove, lad? That actually proves we don't need the lyrics.
Yeah.
The lyrics was just icing on the cake. The lyrics was just to sensationalize this. We have you in a probable cause sense that you committed this crime. without using any lyrics. And most times when indictments are filed, you know, when we talk about it on social media, we say this person got indicted for their lyrics. Nobody, there's not, you got First Amendment right. You can't get indicted for your lyrics.
Well, yeah, because the feds actually responded
Yeah.
to Drew Finling, and they said defendant Banks has presented a false narrative that he's being prosecuted and detained because of his violent lyrics. The claim is, and has always been, baseless. He should remain detained pending trial.
Yeah. And I'm going to be honest with you, them removing the lyrics, it actually neutralizes the next 2 months for Durk. Because all Durk's motions, even PR-wise, why do you think that Drew Finland did your show and mine? I got a call. They said, Durk's lawyer wants to fly in to do your show. And I said, really? I said, I'll do it. Love Drew Finley, but...
Yeah, I actually, me and Drew had dinner last week, and I brought up the idea about doing an interview. He goes, let me check. Let me check with Durk, and let me check with his management.
Yeah.
And apparently, you know, like Durk has new management now. So his new management guy came by. He was like sitting, you know, behind us. I remember a couple of times I made a couple of mistakes. He's like, oh, it's actually this. I'm like, okay, you're right, my bad. So, and afterwards, he basically was like, listen, I know you and Durk had some problems back in the day. He's not tripping. Like, he's good. He's obviously has more problems. He actually personally okayed Drew doing the interview with you. So I think once I brought that idea and he knew he was coming to New York, he probably hit you up as well, which made perfect sense. And it was like, okay, I'm going to go on a little mini media run.
Yeah.
To push a narrative, which is cool. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and you know, again, it's to drum up public support for Durk. But we have to look at what the feds did. They neutralized the whole thing.
Yeah, by just throwing out the whole lyric thing altogether.
We're not using lyrics no more.
Yeah, the end.
So what are you going to say now? So it puts in a very precarious situation. They're playing a little bit of chess. Eventually, the Roosters are going to have to come home. And what that means is that we're going to have to see what they got on them. They're going to have to announce at some point who these co-conspirators are. Did the person who gave the drop, that was the supposed Rolling 60s member, is that person, who is that person? Is that person going to testify? Who's the person who was the shooter, who is not named in the indictment? Is he going to testify?
I thought
there's co-conspirator 2, he's the shooter.
Well, there's multiple shooters, right?
Yeah,
or just
but
one shooter.
Only there's 3 shooters.
Right.
One is not named.
Okay, got it. But the other 2 are named.
Yes. So and they're in custody.
Right.
The one that's not named, we don't know who it is, and we don't know if they're in custody, but we're assuming they are, which only tells us they're probably cooperating. And we all know how it goes. Look at a Dolph case. When you have one of the shooters ready to tell, usually sinks the ship. You know what I mean? Loose lips, literally, all pun intended, will sink that ship. So we'll see what that person wants to say. And also, here's the thing. This is why another reason they don't want Durk to get out no bond. We don't know who these snitches are. Durk knows. Definitely knows, without even getting the discovery.
Huh.
Because let's say this was real. We don't know if it's real. I think Durk is innocent. I was going to wear my Free Durk shirt today. I don't think he would do such a thing, right? He's a good guy. But it was 3 shooters. If Durk and his people did that, they would know the snitch is a person who ain't named. He's going to be incarcerated. You still have money and power in the reach, even in the jail system. Let's make sure that guy get touched. Let's make it hard for him. Let's make him reconsider. You see why they don't want Durk out? Again, if that shooter doesn't show up and say, yeah, I was talking to Diddy, I heard him on the phone with Durk, when Durk said he was going to give us a 20 ball, and all we had to do is make sure we clip this dude. That's going to be an important fucking testimony. If he doesn't say that, or he now, oh, yeah, no, the feds forced me, they coerced me to sign this thing. This had nothing to do with Durk. I did it by myself. Different situation. So I think the feds are also playing those angles, and I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, we see further, like in other detention hearings, right? Further arguments from the government may be citing fears about the safety of some of the people who are going to be their case, which is the main witnesses. Trust, watch.
Well, there's a little more to the case as well, because a few months ago, they actually unsealed a new indictment. Well, I'm not sure if it's an indictment, but basically, The U.S. District Court in Chicago, so this is a state case, they allege that Durk was behind the January 27, 2022 killing of Stephon Mack, 24 years old, who was shot to death after he left the Youth Peace Center in Chicago. Allegedly at the time, he was a leader of the Smashville faction of the Gangster Disciples. And that is because Durk's brother, D-Thang, was shot to death outside of a nightclub in 2021. And what they said was, according to the warrant application, another Gangster Disciple faction with ties to Smashville carried out the murder. According to, I guess, state police, they say Little Durk was and is still offering money for people to kill those responsible for his brother's murder, and more specifically, offering to pay money for any Gangster Disciple that is killed. A federal agent actually wrote that in 2023. So he hasn't been charged, and he's not part of this investigation, but the case is still open. They say evidence collected in this case also shows the defendant has allegedly placed monetary bounties to solicit other murders, including a family member of a witness. Defendant's modus operandi, how do you say it?
Modus operandi.
The defendant's modus operandi is clear. He will use his power, his money, his influence, and any pretrial release to endanger anyone who he perceives as a threat, including witnesses in this case. Now, earlier in the year, they actually arrested 2 men for this, but Durk wasn't charged. But what they say is that the feds are expected to point out to this shooting as a reason to keep him behind bars. They also cite lyrics from the song Aha that they say somehow ties into this whole situation. But here's sort of the thing at the end that's kind of crazy. The warrant application goes on to say that Montgomery, Wilson, and Powell, the 3 guys involved in this alleged murder, may have exchanged text messages concerning payment for Mack's murder. Investigators allegedly discovered a 2-person text message conversation that mentions OTF. On February 10, 2022, one of the people in text conversations asked, "What's up with OTF?" To which the other person responded, "Nothing." Then 8 days later in the same conversation, another text read, "Did Durk give you that money?"
Yeah.
You're familiar with this, right?
Yeah, I'm familiar with this case.
Okay. I just need to lay it all out because it is rather complicated.
Yeah, so this case is the case where people believe that Durk rapped about what he says, "The day my brother died, if you were there, you died too." And next day, go ask the ops, they were down to. And he was alluding to the murder of someone named Stephon Mack.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yes.
That's what people believe, right?
Yes.
So, this case is a little bit more difficult in the way where the feds have Durk's name in it, but they don't have no proof, right? And it appears if you kind of step back and you look at both of these situations, and this is why the Los Angeles case is going to be difficult, Durk was never speaking to shooters himself, if this happened. So this is, hypothetical land, right? Let's say these things happen. Durk never spoke to people himself. But was it understood that it was coming from Durk? Yes. That's still really hard to prove because you hear these guys texting, saying OTF. They even actually kind of pretty much almost mentioned Durk, but Durk is not their point of contact.
They did mention Durk.
Yes. So, but it's not their point of contact. That's why he's not charged in that case, right? You have nothing from Durk. And this is the good thing about Durk. He clearly wasn't one of those people on the phone that was like just incriminating himself, right? Now, obviously, doing crime, period, is just bad, but that makes it hard for him. And by the way, at his LA trial for the Cali Fed case, his lawyers, 100%, Drew Finland is going to make sure that case does not get brought up. He's not indicted. And until y'all link him and indict him, that is prejudice in his current case. However, they could bring it up in a bail hearing. So in a bail hearing, it's really discretionary for the judge based on a few standards. And you could introduce other things that could help people consider the character of that person or even the public sentiment about them. So they could bring up this particular case in bail hearing to probably help deny him and say, hey, he's being investigated in this other case. When it gets to trial, they can't bring up this case. They're going to, in pre-trial hearings, they're going to make sure that's carved out. It's going to be a rule. You cannot bring up this other case where he's accused of doing the same thing, right? And I don't think he's going to be indicted in the other case. I think they've been waiting for a while on someone to cooperate to make the link, and I don't think they can find it. I don't think the people indicted. At first, they were sealing the case. So that case was actually before. That case was actually before the Lil Pop case.
Yeah.
And they had it sealed for a while because I think they were hoping to turn one of the guys. Either they didn't turn, or these guys had nothing substantial to link to Durk, so they never got what they needed. They only unsealed it after Durk caught the other case. So it kind of gives you the strategy of the feds. The feds was sitting on the Chicago case, hoping to connect Durk. They sat on it as long as they could. They couldn't. Then when the LA case came, they then connected to the LA case. However, I don't think we're getting an indictment out of that. So, it's going to be one of those fan folklore type of thing where you're going to hear about Durk supposedly responsible for shit and not everything he's charged with. But it goes to the original sentiment about how a lot of law enforcement feel about Durk. Let me bring you back to, forgot what year it is. I think it's 2017 or so. When Durk gets caught in a shooting with Vaughn in Atlanta, detectives from Chicago traveled to Atlanta just to testify in a pretrial hearing just to keep him in jail. The reason why they did it, they even admitted, the detectives, they said, we've been trying to get this motherfucker. We couldn't get him. Remember, he caught 3 gun cases. A lot of people in Chicago have this thought, like, you catch 3, you're going away for a while. Durk done beat 3 gun cases. Durk been dropping 30 on the feds not the feds, but law enforcement for a while. So you get the Chicago detectives, they're going to Atlanta, trying to help Atlanta people out. He catches the case there, but Vaughn dies, then the case falls apart. The feds come in like, we're gonna go look at everything. Word on the street, they were gonna pick up the Atlanta case. So they're trying to get him there. Then they hear, oh, we have the Chicago murder for hire here. And then remember, they've been trying to get these guys. They've been trying. They were trying to get Vaughn for Duck, FBG Duck murder downtown.
Right.
They've been this close to getting these guys in the feds and the law enforcement minds. So when they finally think they got him, right? It's this California case, which I still don't know if they got him, because again, it's gonna hinge so much on cooperation, and unless they turn Diddy or Vonnie, I don't think Durk is talking about murders with the low-level guys. Again, if this ever happened, or in both murders for supposedly the Revenge for D thing, that's Chicago, and the Revenge for Vaughn, which is aimed at Quando Rondo, but they killed Lil Pop in Cali. The main OTF guys, they weren't necessarily the shooters. They got off-brand niggas to do the shooting.
Right, because a couple of the guys were like vice lords.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember I got a DM from someone that basically said like that this guy, I think it was like Brown Eyes, was like not even really connected to Durk like that.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even like a real hardcore street guy like that. And
I hear Durk don't really know him niggas.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting because, sure, everyone could cooperate, but if everyone's cooperation story is completely different and they're just cooperating just to get out of doing life in prison, Drew Finley's going to tear him up on the stand.
The feds are going to try to turn a few more people. They got to turn a few more people. Because even if you have the shooter not talking to Durk. The shooter could hear from the middleman saying, yo, after you kill him, your Durk got a bag for you. What does that mean in the court of law? Did you get payment? Is it like the Young Dolph situation where...
Yeah, and that's the whole thing about paragraph 9 being taken out. Yeah. Somewhere along the line, the payment part is getting murky.
Yeah.
And without the payment, it's going to be a little hard to prosecute them.
So for murder for hire, if you look at what's needed to prove that, we need an agreement. It's almost, the higher part means a lot. We have an agreement that if you commit this crime, you're to be paid this. Now, the way I was actually it works is that you don't need to have received the money for it to still be murder for hire.
Yeah.
But you needed to know at the time you did the murder
the expectation of payment.
The expectation.
Yeah.
It then gets trumped up if there's an attempt to follow through the payment. But I mean, the biggest part of it is that you did this under the pretense of this is a job. You get what I mean?
Right. So if Vonnie or Diddy basically said, Durk told me to get these guys, and they'll get this type of payment once they've completed the job. Yeah, I mean, then it's going to be his word against theirs. He'll say that never happened. They said it did happen. The jury will have to decide.
Yeah, Drew Finland, he has a hard task on his hand. Let me tell you, feds from Chicago are going to be helping out. I don't know if I ever said this publicly. Right before the YSL thing happened, I talked to some people in Atlanta. They said, oh, Durk about to get big indictment out here. And I said, Atlanta, because Durk had moved out to Atlanta for a while. And by the way, everybody keeps hearing, he even rapped about the shooting that happened at his house. There's a lot more that's really behind that.
Oh.
And the police were looking at Durk. So again, this is the context I think everybody watching to remember this. The police felt like Durk been beating their ass. They wanted him in Chicago, never got sizable time on him. They wanted him in Atlanta. They couldn't really get him, right? The feds then take it, and the feds are working the Chicago cases, and they're allegedly the Atlanta case. They're saying, just drop it. We're going to pick it up on something bigger because you guys don't even have a lot. We just seen what preliminary hearing looked like. So the feds are starting to work on it. Then the LA thing happens, and they pull the trigger on one of them. But this is how it works. They have all the resources. That's why the feds are great. They're going to have an Avengers size of information that they're going to try to throw on Durk. And this is why it's going to be tough for him. I could see them trying to add other charges with more superseding indictment if they think he's going to beat the top ones they're bringing now. They need something from him. They want 10 years of his life. They don't want him to get out in a year and a half after he goes to trial, beats them unanimously. Very embarrassing. They want 10 years of his life. Trust me. And if they don't catch him on a murder, they're going to probably trump up so much things against him that he got to you got a federal gun case now. You got to take the 7 years, the Gucci, and you get out in 5 or 6 or whatever, and you already did 2, right? But they want something from him, and we'll see how Drew Finland could navigate those waters.
Well, yeah, because a few days ago, there was a new thing where there was an unreleased song called Skuma's Ass, where they said on the song, he raps about riding around through Beverly Hills with choppers. They said very similar to what happened with the Lil Pop situation. They said, although the song does not appear to be officially released, they actually got the audio from a co-conspirator's cell phone after a federal search warrant. So they're really trying.
Yeah, that's before they threw out all that strategy.
Yeah, so at this point, that's all gone?
Yeah, because they were just saying, they had egg on their face, right? The prosecutors in Fulton County, which are state, really on the county level, but within the state, they got egg put on their face a bunch of time, and they were just like, oh, whatever, we don't give a fuck, right? The feds are not used to being embarrassed. The feds got embarrassed when they essentially were told the evidence that you keep citing and you put in a charging document, the indictment, is fake. It's from fans. Now you look really stupid. Before the judge could even address it, before it went to the hearing, they not only remove it, before they fully removed it, they said, well, even if that's not true, there's other songs. We just found one, and they're giving up more of their hand. We just found an unreleased song on one of his co-conspirators' phone. He's talking about riding through Beverly Hills. What are you talking about? Like, Chief Keef rapped about riding through New Jersey. Riding through, he's going to blow New Jersey
it's a very general lyric.
Yeah,
when I read it, I'm like, this is what they got? Yeah.
So they started to realize
let's leave lyrics alone.
Yeah, let's get out of there. And then now, as I said, this is the big boy game. Who are the snitches? I'm telling you, Durk beats his case 4-0 if there ain't nobody that get up on that stand. He's going to spank it. It's going to be embarrassing.
Yep.
He loses if there's somebody who is his guy, who he used to be throwing up all them hand signals with, fucking bitches before India, doing all this stuff, used to be on the block with. If that man gets up there and he says, so when you were on a private jet and Durk said he had a 20 ball, if you could get the murder done, point out, or it's going to get to a point like, point out the person who set this up, and that person say, watch out, move, you. He's right there. The one with the blonde dreads. Durk. Yo, Durk, what up, man? That gets Durk sunk.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's going to be loose details that kind of, Durk wasn't dumb, but here's the thing. I don't think you can do crime these days, man. I think the government got too much tools. But at least there's no dead to rights shit where like, you know, he's on surveillance video like, yo, y'all give me y'all gloves. Y'all give me y'all gloves. I'm about to burn it. Oh, y'all give me the guns back that y'all just kill people with. None of that. So that's good for him.
Well, look, I'm just going to end it with this because me and Wack100 were talking about this last time he was on. We were talking about the Durk case. And he said it so well. He said,
you cannot take the block with you because the block I had your ass back on the cell block.
That's true.
you try to bring all your homies, you know, all the criminals, all the drug dealers, the scammers, the shooters, all these guys, because they make you feel good and, you know, you guys go back and everything. They're going to do a whole bunch of ignorant stuff with or without your knowledge, and you're going to get hemmed up in it. And this is what's happening right now in real time.
Yeah.
Whether or not he knew about it or didn't know about it, that was his big mistake.
Yeah, I'd even go as far as to say, for anybody who has a record label, these days the police look at record labels as almost like quasi-gangs.
Yeah.
Don't give out no chains. Don't have niggas shouting your label out, because even if it's YSL or it's whatever you might call your label, if you then have street niggas around it and they feel like you're automatically the leader and they do something, even if it's like let's use a loose example. Yo, this guy's talking shit about me or talking shit about my artist, right? I'm a street nigga who, I'm road manager. I'm a street nigga, you know, he brings me along, I'm from the streets.
Yeah.
I'm the road manager for him, right? But this other guy, Vlad, he's talking shit. I see Vlad and just genuinely, I don't like that Vlad talking shit about my guy. I grew up with this guy this whole time. I press Vlad, I choke him out, Vlad dies. You know what they say? Like, you did that crime in furtherance of this organization.
Yeah.
That as long as they could prove that organization is basically doing crime, which there's a bunch of street dudes, they're not gonna say you took it up on yourself to go murder someone. You did that in furtherance of this organization.
Yeah.
And it's easy to prove. Well, Vlad talking shit is hurting the reputation, probably making them less money. You go kill Vlad, and now you're making more money. It's very easy. So now you're gonna catch a RICO. So if I'm, you know, look at Lil Baby in them. Man, he is sprinting away from 4PF.
Yeah.
Like, he don't wanna hear nothing about it no more.
Right.
Right? Like, and that's a real thing. He had probably the best intentions of it, but you know what happened? It's these hanger-ons. These other guys. When you start balling, you buy 50 chains. Everybody now has a chain. They want to get bitches on the gram. You know what they'll put their handle as? Yo, 4PF Mike. Mike don't come around but once a year. He sell drugs in the hood. He's a scammer. You know what? The police now look at it? 4PF are scammers. That's why I'm telling you.
Right, no, you're right.
You really don't want to have any type of organization, even if you're doing legit stuff, that anyone that doesn't have really strict rules, you don't want them associated with it, but you don't want nobody claiming nothing. I wouldn't even buy chains for these niggas no more. Nigga, buy your own chain. And by the way, don't buy my brand. Put your name on the chain. Seriously.
Yo, bring back the Versace chains. Get one of those, yeah?
Yo, let me tell you this. Just think about it. Like, think about this, right? You know, when I was interviewing, I went on my little Philly run when me and Meek was into it. I interviewed all these Philly guys. I interviewed Dean. And Dean was like, yo, listen, Meek Mill used to give Dream Chaser chains to the guys. And he said when they got back to town, like when they go out of town and they're in LA or whatever, because now they look strong. Everybody got a Dream Chaser chain. So when they got back to Philly, he used to be like, all right, everybody hand it up. Give me back my chains. And he would confiscate it. He would take it back. It's like Cinderella. Yes.
That's crazy.
You never heard this?
I never heard this.
Yes, he said
And they would willingly take the chains off their own necks and give it back to them.
You never talked to, you gotta get Dean up here. He said it was his job to go knock on all the hotel rooms and be like, hotel doors right before they got home and say, yo, we need the chain back. Come on, let's get the chain. And they would take all the Dream Chaser chains and give it back to Meek Mill when they got back in town. So it was only something like a decoration for these guys to wear when they're out of town.
Wow.
Here's the problem with that. And you know, I'm speaking about this because obviously nothing happened in a sense with Meek Mill.
Yeah.
But let's say they go out of town. One of these guys see, yo, his chick's getting piped out by some drug dealer or some shit. He runs into the dude. He shoots the dude. The dude dies. Nobody cares that they had an interpersonal beef over a woman. The Dream Chaser did that.
Yeah.
So the police is gonna look at this. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, even having a chain around your neck, Even having a chain around your neck now just makes it seem like whatever fuck shit you're doing is repping that. So listen, I completely understand why I think the majority of these artists, they want to stay away from having, anybody rep what they want to rep.
Well, it is Saturday, May 3rd today. In 2 days, the Diddy trial begins. Now, in the beginning, it's going to be jury selection, so it's going to be a little while until it starts, but it's officially on. And look, I remember talking to people that were very familiar with the case. They told me that this case is actually beatable, 100% beatable. It's basically a domestic violence case that is ballooned into something way bigger. But the team is going to need at least a year to really properly, put this together. But Diddy always wanted a speedy trial. He was trying to get bond and so forth. So now, they try to delay it by 2 months. But since it's only one person, they can't justify it. So on Monday, the trial officially begins. Now, a lot of people have always asked, what exactly is he being charged with? So I'm going to break it all down. The original charges is a RICO, maximum penalty, life in prison, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, victim 1. That's probably Cassie.
It's Cassie.
Maximum penalty is life. Mandatory minimum is 15 years. Transportation to engage in prostitution, victim 1, again, Cassie. Maximum penalty, 10 years. Now, in April, there's a superseding indictment with victim 2. So there's a sex trafficking by force or fraud or coercion for this person, as well as a transportation to engage in prostitution, again, for this person. Diddy has pled not guilty, and I'd heard a rumor there's a 5-year plea deal in the works, but apparently all deals are off the table. He has rejected all the plea deals.
I don't believe that 5-year plea deal, but
it was a rumor.
Yeah,
it was a rumor.
The feds are in the hole for $3 to $5 million at this point with the resources they're spending. All that big ass raid. They've been doing a lot. The feds have been doing a lot. They've been monitoring him for a long time. They've invested a lot, and usually in money spent, they need years off your life. 5 years, he's already been there close to a year at this point.
Yeah, about 9 months. Well, no, about 6 months. He got, maybe about 8, 9 months. September is when he got locked up.
Yeah, let's just say it's getting close to a year, and what that's going to mean is that if he does 85%, he'd be out in 4. So then we start thinking about it. He's damn near did 1. You tell me Diddy wouldn't take 3 more years, and all of this is pretty much over, right? I get his hell. Also, by the way, as soon as he takes that plea, and I'm pretty sure his lawyers could maneuver it in a way where he's not pleading guilty to some of the stuff to make us call him like sex trafficker.
Yeah.
It would be like a prostitution thing where he'll plead guilty to prostitution where we're like, prostitution, we don't care. Sex trafficking is a trigger word.
Right,
Rape
so
is a trigger.
all the civil cases would fall apart, basically.
Right.
Right, and here's what's interesting,
Well,
right?
not necessarily. They would fall
Well, okay,
apart.
but here's what's interesting, right? And Drew Finley talked about this on my show. If you look at the Diddy Fed case, and then you got like 20 civil cases, the feds went through every single civil case with a fine tooth and comb, because they would love to include all these other victims in the same case. Not a single civil case has been incorporated into the main case.
There's been nothing superseding to add any of those cases, which would lead me to believe, Vlad, that law enforcement at the direction of the Department of Justice has fastidiously looked into all of those allegations and said, there's nothing here to put in the indictment.
So these are all just BS civil cases. All of them money grabs, pretty much. From the outside looking in.
Other than that, why would they not be part of it? Why would this not be? Because when it all first started, people were like, oh my God, this is going to be an 80-count indictment.
What we think?
Well, there's only 2 victims, though. If other people...
No, there's 5. So there's 5.
But he's only being charged for 2.
So under the RICO Act, they charge sex trafficking by itself, but there's sex trafficking under RICO, and they put 5 victims, right? In one of the superseding indictment, they actually removed the victim, and then another superseding indictment, they added 2 more. So there's 5 victims, but the standalone charge, because and I asked Drew Finley about that too. The thought and the theory behind all of this, right? And by the way, I also talked to Bradford Cohen. He's really in tune with a lot of this stuff. The thought behind this is, when you present the RICO charge, it's possible that because of the mountain of evidence, they might say not guilty, and you could still get him for the individual predicate act, right? Which is just sex trafficking, maybe not under the RICO statute, which is a corrupt organization charge, but you could get him for just sex trafficking that one person. They only have it for 2 people though. So they have it for victim 1, which is clearly Cassie. Victim 2, we don't know who. But then they have other victims. There's 3 other victims under the RICO section, which we have to believe that their situations can't be that major because they're only listed in overt acts and obviously a predicate act of sex trafficking, but we don't hear too much about them. So they can't be strong witnesses. That's the point what I'm trying to say. Cassie, the standalone charges that have Cassie and this other person are strong ones. These other ones, I could tell they're not going to be main witnesses or star witnesses because they're only going to come in during the RICO section.
Well, the federal prosecution team is all white women, led by the daughter of former FBI Director James Comey. So, this is a kind of a hardcore situation here.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I think Diddy has been helped in the last few months, inadvertently by Jay-Z and by even some of the era and, the climate. I think this was the start of a new Me Too era when Diddy got taken down. Mm-hmm. And the public consensus was like, this guy's as guilty as it could be. And then we just start seeing so many allegations about everybody. Metro Boomin, 15 executives, this rapper here. They're not talking about one with Fat Joe. Like, it feels like, after a while when you keep hearing the same shit, you're like, here it goes again. And people are also starting to realize some of these lawyers might be just ambulance chasers, right? Like, Tony Busby, when I first heard about him and he said he had a press conference with 120 people, I'm like, God damn it, he looks like he's serious. He looks like he's one of those guys. After Jay-Z made a fool of him, I don't even know if he told me if it was sunny outside, I'd be believing him. So that affects a lot of stuff. And here's the thing too, when it comes to Diddy and the timing of the trial and everything. The feds, and this is what I'm saying, they spend so much money. They want him so bad. They have convened a grand jury for over a year. It's been over a year, a consistent grand jury that's listening to new evidence about Diddy. I have to imagine weekly. Diddy realizes they want him so bad, they're going to continue this until he goes to trial. And every now and then, they're going to come back with a superseding indictment, even if it adds one fact or one little BS charge that would fold up on another charge. And he's realizing my lawyers are locked and loaded to go at Cassie. It's going to be a knock him down. Again, I might even show up to the trial because it's not going to be televised. But when she testifies, they're probably going to go so much in depth. Remember, a lot of this, it's going to get crazy in court too, because they're going to have to show these videos, these freak-off videos where she's saying that she is, while she's operating in the sexual capacity, that she was doing it under duress, she was coerced, and that she was not with any of this, and he was forcing her by threat of violence, or they have this new thing where they say financial, basically like you're being coerced financially. So like because of your financial future, you rely on this guy to for living and your livelihood, you do these things. That's the main thing we're gonna go see. And I think that's why Diddy's team realized they don't got no more real witnesses. Everybody else is fluff. So rather than sit here and wait for them to keep drumming up shit, let's go to trial.
Well, no, they tried to push it back 2 months. The judge rejected it. Yeah, let's not forget that. Brian Steele is also on the team, but
they tried to push it back for Brian Steele.
I talked to a few people, and they're like, "Yeah, Brian Steele's great, but he's coming in 3 weeks before the trial. How much could he really do?"
Yeah, I also talked to Drew Finland about that, and in a roundabout way, I felt like he said he was almost contacted, but he didn't really confirm. He just was vague about it, and it seems like his opposition to it was, I'm not going in on a case like that unless I get to run the show. And I don't think Brian Steele's about to run the show. I think it's very clear that it's Mark Agnifilio's show. I think it might be a co-lead counsel with him and Brian Steele. But Brian Steele probably is coming in not ripping up their game plan. saying, nah, fuck no, we're not going with that. We're going to lose. It's probably saying, hey, okay, I see the angle you guys are going with. I need to know a little bit more about the case. We need to study up. We need to maybe do all these other things, and then we'll be ready. Let's try to get 2 months. And the judge said, fuck no.
Yeah. I mean, Diddy's defense basically said that he's a swinger, not a criminal.
They're trying to roll, see? And a lot of people are so much surprised how much the media play a part in all this stuff. Because when you start rolling out your defense and even with the government, by putting out the Cassie video, you get to start really corrupting and influencing the minds of people, not only who may be jurors, but just even the reporting and the tone of how you speak about this.
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, they also claim that he had a mental condition while committing these alleged acts, and
that was a weak one. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah, that's a very weak one.
That's a claim that's an adjacent claim to the insanity claim, which the insanity claim usually says, I did it, but I did it in a mentally incapacitated state. He's saying, listen, if I did do it, I was going through a tough time mentally. And, that's more of a consideration when it comes to maybe the punishment or maybe some behavior, but that's not going to absolve you from the crime. I think the judge either is thinking about it or they're about to rule it out that they can't use it as a defense. So right now they're in the place of what's allowed in the trial. So if, Diddy infamously, when he collected that Global Icon Award at the BET Awards and he shouted out Cassie, he said, I want to shout out her because I was going through a tough time. And they're trying to piggyback off that moment to say Diddy was in a deep, dark depression that was probably alcohol-fueled,
drug-fueled. Yeah.
And he was pretty much inebriated for maybe the majority of the day, or he was drugged up just constantly. And that impaired his judgment, and maybe some things that could be misconstrued, because maybe when the government hears evidence of him saying, shut the fuck up, bitch, I'm about to do this, and he's just wilding out, they're like, whoa, this guy is, these things are going to affect the jury. But now if the defense comes back and say, remember, Diddy was drunk from 9 a.m. till 4 a.m. every day, okay? When you hear him talking crazy, it's because he was an angry drunk, but he didn't put his hands on people very rarely, or he wouldn't remember. That's what they're trying to get, that angle. I don't think that's going to work, honestly.
You don't think it's going to be the case?
No, I don't think that angle is going to work.
Do you think it's going to be the case?
So beating the case is not guilty on all counts.
Right.
Absolutely not. I think he's going to get a guilty verdict somewhere, but I don't think the top counts are going to matter. Right now, it's no way. So the RICO would be the top count.
And one-man RICOs are actually a thing. Me and Drew Filling were talking about that. He actually represented people who had one-man RICOs.
Yeah, because the other people end up being unindicted co-conspirators, where they may have not known that they were just working for him. They didn't know that what they're doing this crime, right? So it's like, hey, if I tell you go get the rope because I'm about to go tie somebody up for the kidnapping, but you're my assistant and you don't know that I'm finna go do that. You just think you're doing the job. Hey, I help act out. You get the rope. If now this becomes the criminal organization, could you be charged with me? I mean, I guess you could be, but the government is going to realize they're going to look stupid if you put somebody on the stand who their job was to get purchase orders and order things that Diddy likes the house to be stocked with. So them ordering 1,000 bottles of baby oil is not because they wanted Diddy to go fuck 1,000 chicks in free coughs. They are just stocking the house. So you know what the government will do? They'll go to that person and say, hey, you got to come talk to us and give us that context of that. And those people are going to end up testifying. They're going to get these proffer deals that's going to, give them some immunity and they're not going to get charged. So Diddy's but it doesn't look good for the government, right? You're claiming that this guy was doing all these things. In all these allegations, we're hearing about other people, especially in the new civil allegations, right? You're hearing other people were involved in these sexual assaults. Where are their charges? If you're only one guy, this don't look too good, right? But I do think he's going to catch, even if it's like the prostitution charge, he was hiring a lot of prostitutes, right? He was flying them in. I'm pretty sure one of those things will get him jammed up. And I think the conversation Diddy and his lawyers are saying, hey, listen, let's say your 5-year plea deal thing was a thing. I think Diddy's looking at it like, yo, we think that top charge that's going to bring at least 20, which is the RICO, we think we can beat that. That's bullshit.
Well, yeah, because the prostitution charge, the transportation to engage in prostitution, has a maximum penalty of 10 years, but no minimum. So it could turn into a year or two.
There you go.
Because it's really not that serious.
There you go.
You're flying in a prostitute. She wants to get paid.
There
she
you
does
go.
something she's cool with doing. You fly her back. The end.
They're setting it up already like that.
Yeah.
Yo, we're swingers. At times we were out of town. We didn't meet other couples. We was just flying some prostitutes. Yeah, we probably flew them into some places that prostitution was illegal in. And yes, that's a federal charge. Okay, his reputation won't, like, compared to what he's accused of, is like, it's a little freaky motherfucker. Cool. So I think that's what their thought is. If they're gonna turn down a plea, that would be below 10. They're like the only thing that could really, they think.
Well, that could be the 5 that was rumored. That's what I'm saying. We'll just do prostitution, 5 years, take it.
Nah, but if you have 3 charges, the 2 sex trafficking charges of victim 1 and victim 2, and also RICO, those all carry 20.
Right.
If you offer somebody 5, you're basically saying we have nothing.
We have nothing, right?
Yeah,
right.
So at that point,
he didn't take it. But, there's a lot of wheeling and dealing that goes through. And keep in mind that even once the trial starts, a plea deal could be had. Up until the verdict, you could do a plea deal, like you saw with Young Thug.
Yeah.
You could do it.
Well, that was an embarrassing situation for the state. I think the government they're going to lock in, and it's going to be all or nothing. Hey, if you don't take this pre-trial plea, we are going for straight conviction, and we're going to put you under the jail, or you're going to beat us, and it is going to be embarrassing.
Well, your new best friend, Kanye, has been doing a lot.
Sir,
Since last time.
His name is Ye.
Ye. Okay, your new best friend, Ye. I know he's sensitive about that.
Yeah, he is, yes.
He's definitely sensitive about that. Well, I'll tell you this. This is something that I haven't said before. Because recently, Kanye came out with the song Cousins.
Yeah.
Where he talks about giving his 11-year-old cousin head when he was 14. The chorus is actually, I gave my cousin head. I talked to some people that actually know Kanye. And my question was, listen, is he just trolling? Because he's got a new album out and so forth. This is what he does, and this is just trolling on a crazy level? Or did he really give his cousin head when he was younger? And they all said, no, it's true. That actually happened. What do you make of that?
I think it happened too.
Yeah. Did you talk to him about that off camera?
No. I did react to it publicly, and he reacted to my reaction of that, and he said, I don't know if I regret putting that song out after you saw my reaction.
What was your reaction?
Well, my reaction was like, because I know that Dave Blunt's been writing all these songs for him, right? So the way how Kanye works, Kanye will get together with a great writer, and it could be Consequence, it could be, I think Pusha T's written stuff for him, Rhyme Fest, Sci-Hi the Prince, Dave Blunt's his guy at the moment. Vori used to write for him, and he'll, and shit, me and him kind of had a conversation before, not about that, but like the song Bianca, I see how somebody could write for him. He gives everything to you. He tells you everything, even things that you're like, did you mean to tell me that?
Right.
Self-deprecating things, but he gives you exactly what his mind is. And maybe that comes from, he's definitely using his music as therapy, but if you're a writer, it makes it very easy for you. Because he's telling you his POV. Yeah. Like, when he told me about the situation with Bianca, and then I heard the song, he sent the song to me like 2 days later. It was the exact same thing, just in song format.
And that was Bianca leaving you?
Yes. And he was just like, because he had picked my brain, he asked me, he said, Ak, he's like, what do you think about the idea of somebody not wanting me to go to rehab, but wanting me to go to a retreat, like take some time off or something? And I ain't gonna lie, what I tell him, I was like, yo, yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, right now you're on one. I said, bro, if you are this, coherent, it doesn't seem like any of your thoughts or movements or whatever you're trying to be in a retreat about. Like you're going, you're good. And he's like, that's kind of what I feel. It's like my wife suggested it. And I don't know what to to make of that. Like, why would she suggest I go to retreat? It almost kind of feels like rehab. And I'm sitting there with Ye, and he's in Japan at the time, and he's telling me about it. I'm like, yo, he's like really processing this, and like he's really asking my opinion. A couple days later, the song's out, and when I talked to Dave Blunt, he says that's how their creative process is. So even with the Cousins thing, yeah, he shared that story with a few people.
Well, yeah, and plus the song Cousins uses a Dave Blunt chorus that's already out. You know that, right?
Yeah, but it's after the stuff that's pertaining to Ye.
Right, exactly. So Ye does an original verse first, and then he uses a Dave Blunt's chorus. I forgot what the name of the song was, but you can look it up.
It's called 10 Perks.
10 Perks, right.
But the part that is, Ye's using his music as therapy at this point. The first part of the song is literally the story that he probably told Dave Blunt. He's like, I guarantee he told him, like, hey, listen, I'm trying to tackle this demon now. And this is why I have mixed feelings about when people want to say anything about Ye, right? It's like, well, I get y'all probably don't want to hear about a man admitting he sucked his cousin's dick, but didn't y'all all say y'all want the artist to kind of strip down and be like fully transparent? This is what he's battling with. Shit, albeit like 40 years later. He's thinking about, and you could tell like some of these things are themes that have maybe changed his thoughts on life or trajectory of life. He feels incredibly guilty that his cousin is in prison for life after killing a pregnant woman. He feels that his cousin may have suffered from some trauma. He feels like maybe that experience that they had together probably also, maybe super sexualized him or whatever that could have affected him that possibly led to that. And he's wondered or he's battled with figuring out, is it because of me he's locked up for life? You get what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, look, if he actually cared about his cousin, he wouldn't have put the story out, because I bet you his cousin is probably bragging to all his inmate friends for years and years. Yo, man, my cousin's Kanye. Yeah, no, that Kanye. Yeah, I heard this song first when he was working on the studio, blah, blah. Next thing you know, I gave my cousin head. And then we're going to be looking at him like...
in the canteen that day. I get it. But here's the reality about that, Vlad.
It was a rough day for his cousin that day in prison, let me tell you.
This is why I always say to people, hey, listen, if you're going to love Ye, you got to love Ye for everything, not for what you selectively pick, right? Everybody likes to, George Bush don't care about black people. But just remember, only a few years later in 2011, and even when people were shocked about him showing up in a KKK mask or KKK outfit, he had a song in 2011 called Black Skinhead, and it literally said black with 3 Ks, and where it said skinhead had 3 Ks, and the cover art was a black hood. Like, he's been putting in your face, for literally over 15 years.
Well, yeah, he also had the Confederate flag thing. It was merch.
Okay, but the point of what I'm saying is that, I keep seeing people who they're like, oh, nah, this is the one. I can't fuck with him no more. Oh, my God. You should have been hopped off the bandwagon. You should have been tuned him out. Ye hasn't been trying to give the messages that's pandering to nobody for a very, very long time, right? So this entire thing with the Cousins thing, I always tell people like, yo, you might want to tune in and out to the eras of Ye, because Ye might get on some, I want to bring back real hip hop or change the sound again, and he might make some amazing music that is maybe the subject matter that you want to hear him make music about. Clearly, right now, he's going through things about not only dealing with issues that's stemming from his own childhood, but also dealing with the childhood of his own children and him trying to get custody. And I see fans who are like, they're upset about certain stuff, and I'm like, I think this is a true definition of art. Now, also, here's the thing, too, as you said, if he cared about his cousin, Kanye has also showed us, right? Yeah, obviously, right? He showed us for years that when he is at the liberty of expressing his truth, he's not also in the business of caring about other people's feelings.
Right.
Right? For example, when he felt a way about Jay-Z, and he went up on that stage right before he got hospitalized years ago when he was on tour, and he says, Jay-Z want to kill me, and he got ninjas outside, all that type of stuff. He says his truth. And for me, I could appreciate someone who says that, even though, will I admit, Ye is volatile, and, you probably have to deal with him in a certain way where, he has some isms, right? Like, when you talk to Ye, he'll make many references that God is him, And for me, I grew up in a Christian church. To me, that's blasphemy right there. You know what I mean? If you, I know some other people look at it different. Like, well, we're all in the image of God. Like, I don't like nobody thinking they're God. Me personally, but other people might look at it different.
Well, but he called his album Jesus, so you can't really.
I never liked that either.
Yeah, but that's like I said. He's been saying this kind of thing for years. I mean, he went on live stream recently.
So you're proving my point. So I've liked him despite him doing those things because I could differentiate and I could be like, hey, listen, I have some discernment to say when you're on that, I'll tune out. When you're on that though, you give me that blood on the leaves, you give me that, I'm rocking with you.
Yeah.
And that's how I still, love his music and I pick and choose and figure out what, I could enjoy from him. And I still think he's the greatest artist of all time.
I mean, he's been wilding out on stream. I think he was on Sneako's stream and said, I got to use the bathroom. Where's Virgil's grave?
Yeah.
He said he's gay recently on stream. And this was an interesting one. He hooks up with Top 5.
Yeah.
And he gives Top 5 his swastika chain. Actually puts it on his neck. So, me being me, I made a tweet. Didn't go super viral.
Yeah.
Got me 150,000 impressions. I said, so, Top 5's Jewish friend Drake paid for his lawyer fees to beat a first-degree murder charge, only for Top 5 to let Kanye put a swastika chain around his neck.
Yeah. Now,
keep in mind, Drake is Jewish. People say, he's not really Jewish. Oh, he's also Christian. Listen, Drake grew up with a Jewish mother, which makes him 100% Jewish, in a Jewish area of Toronto with a bunch of white Jewish relatives. He had a bar mitzvah. Until he became a rapper, I think Drake probably identified more with white than black. That's what I think.
Maybe. Black. Well, now I gotta give you a little bit of education. There's 3 types of black people, okay? And I think the second one is the most prevalent. You got the black people who they super woke, right? And everything offends them. So like that, they start getting into that, whatever. Then you have the second group. And the second group is, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think, I'm gonna be honest, there's so much disrespect in just hip hop culture. When I see the swastika, I don't even see nothing. Like that shit doesn't even do nothing.
Okay, so let's just say during the interview you had with Ye, he's wearing the swastika chain.
He was.
He takes it off.
Yeah.
And he wants to put it on your neck.
Yeah, well, he's not gonna put me in his beef. Like whatever he got going on.
No. He takes it off. It's like, I want to give you a gift. Yeah. Would you take that? Would you let him put the swastika around your neck?
Nah, but I'm gonna take that chain. I'm definitely gonna sell it. I'm gonna sell it. We're gonna sell that joint. Yeah.
But you're not gonna wear it on camera.
Yeah, because I'm not representing that movement.
Yeah.
Like I think the majority of black people, honestly, to me, when I see black people who are like super like anti-Jewish people or even super bothered by it, I'd be like, what y'all got going on? Like black people, we be just worried about. For me, I don't even like my guy Myron Gaines. Like I see him and I rock with my guy Myron, but he be on Twitter and he be going crazy. Like it's like Jews, this Jews. I'm like, yeah, I don't like. There's nothing. I don't get it.
The Fresh and Fit guy.
Yeah. I don't get it.
Oh, he's like anti-Jewish.
Yeah, he don't rock with you.
Really?
Yeah. So
they want to do my show at one point though.
Well, I mean,
okay.
They do stuff with Aiden Ross, like it. I mean,
really?
But anyway, here's the point. I think a lot of black people, like when we see that, we just know it's a hateful symbol, but there is not that much connection in hip hop where we're like, oh my God, you have on a swastika.
Wait, I gotta slow you down for a second. All right? Because maybe they don't quite get the depth of the symbol. But at no point have I seen black people wear swastikas.
No, I'm not saying.
And most black people, if they see a white guy with a swastika tattoo, they assume this guy's racist as hell and there's going to be a problem.
Yeah, but they think about themselves. We're not thinking about them racist against Jewish people. We're thinking, well, if you don't like the Jewish people, you probably just don't like other marginalized groups like us. You probably don't like us.
Listen. It's not like in the prison system, the Aryan Nation or the Aryan Brotherhood are fighting Jews on the yard. There's not enough Jews in prison to fight. The Aryan Nation fights black people when a race riot breaks out in prison. And the Aryan guys got the swastikas and the black guys do not.
No. But that's what
I'm saying.
No, so we're
Am
agreeing.
I right though?
No, we're agreeing.
Yeah.
In the agreement, I'm saying black people the majority of black people don't care what's going on with Jewish people. They care about what's going on with black people. They just don't like hate. Like most black people ain't hateful. So whether we see a swastika or let's say there was like a symbol that represented hate in other groups, we're not gonna fuck with that. We mind our motherfucking business. That's why I keep saying there's 3 types of black people. You got the black people who they hella focus on Jews, and the rest of us looking like, why the hell you focus on Jews? Then you have the majority of black people who are like, we don't support hate, but we don't feel either neither here nor there. When we see a swastika, it's like seeing any other hateful symbol that we don't, like I wouldn't put a chain on. You get what I'm saying? And then you have the other set of black people who they're just pandering. So they're acting like they're the people who are like, oh, we'll go to war for LGBT. Like, no, black people care about black people. That's what it is. Like, that's kind of, like me, I understand if I'm Jewish, I'm gonna care about Jewish issues. Like, if I got a Jewish platform, you better not put on no damn swastika come around me. And that's just really, I think that's how most things are. Like, people are gonna care about things that kind of serve their self-interest. And I don't even think the majority of black people are educated on even some of the things that say that small population that like Kanye and Myron might be like, oh, the Jews do A, B, C, and D. They're not even educated on what the fuck they're talking about.
I think.
And then the others ones.
I'll just say this. I think most black people probably don't even have a Jewish friend.
Or they think Jewish is white. Bro, I'm telling you, like, it's not, I'm telling you.
Most black people.
Yo.
I probably, because there's so few of us. We're like, what, 5% of the population? Like, if that, 3%, I think 3%.
Most black people, we not into
like,
hate.
you have a Jewish friend because I'm me, and we're in the same business.
I'll just say this with my white friend. That's what I'm trying to tell you. There's the majority of black people, we don't look at it like that. That's why we look over at people like Ye, and I'm like, even when I'm standing in front of him, I'm trying to like get why. Because he never was saying Jewish people like back when he was like 2009 and shit like that.
No.
At a certain point he started. And that's why I listened to him. I'm like, all right, so you're going to give me 50 reasons. And that's what he was doing in the interview. He's like, I'm gonna give you mad reasons of how every time I had a misfortune in life, I ended up seeing a Jewish guy being the person who was perpetuating my downfall. So that's why I feel a certain type of way. And I look at that and I said, on an anecdotal level, I could see why maybe you feel that way. For the majority of black people, we're not going to war against those Jew people. Like, what the fuck? Like, yo, we looking at it like, yo, people against y'all, people against us. Yo, y'all handle y'all business, fighting against whoever against y'all, and we trying to handle our business, fighting against everybody against us, because we all got beef. You see me? Like, I'm one of the people, I'm on my motherfucking business. Like, respectfully, even they got the whole free Palestine. I don't even know what the anti-version of that is. I don't even care to know. I'm worried about what's going on in Jamaica. What's going on here? I just leave it alone. I leave it, like, I don't have any, now granted, if I was from that region, I would have strong opinion. Strong opinion. Like,
I've been to Israel. I've also been in Palestine.
Yeah,
I mean, I've spoken about
I think
I was
DJ
just
Khaled
on
and
Piers
niggas-
Morgan, you know what I'm saying? Like, I speak as a prominent Jewish person in hip-hop.
Yeah, you should be proud of where you came from.
I am
So,
proud.
there's nothing
It's
wrong
funny
with
how
you, though.
people in the tweets, like, I'll say some shit, like if I mention the top 5 thing, whatever, they're like, Jew. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a Jew. And?
Yeah, well, put like this. I always tell
Yeah,
people.
I'm proud of my heritage.
I always told people. I said, listen, I'm Jamaican. If niggas started a war on oxtail and beef patties, man, I might have to get up in that war. I'm Jamaican. I love my country.
Yeah.
We are naturally, ingrained, if you have some pride and self-respect, to want to defend the very core and fabric that has created you and the traditions and values that you're on. So it's not that. Like, I completely get that. The only thing is, what I'm trying to say is that, like, for example, like when I'm watching the top 5 shit, I'm like, damn, you're kind of having, even when Kanye uses the F word, I don't use the F word. I've never used the F word, right? That's the thing that kind of talks about gay. Like, I don't use that word. And when I see or hear Kanye say it, I'm like, all right, it's a hateful word, but I'm not like, it's time to, like,
Right, 'cause you're
we
not
just
gay.
mind our business. You know what I mean? Now, to keep it real, the most thing I would be the most mad about with Ye is things that are anti-black, but he black. So I'm kind of looking at him, I'm like, I don't even know what to do with you, bro. Just keep going ahead.
But he does do anti-black stuff, like having a white Ku Klux Klan outfit, which he had in his bag during your interview.
Nah, you're right. You're right.
See what I'm saying?
And
that is a hateful anti-black symbol.
And I'm glad you said that, right? Keep in mind, I was born in Jamaica. There ain't no KKK in Jamaica. We ran all them motherfuckers. Like, listen, we got colorism there, but trust me, we handle the at least inland racism shit real quick because we dominate on a majority perspective by population. Here is much different because black people are just not the majority. And obviously there's a bunch of other things too, which I can't get into or just don't have the time. However, the idea of the KKK, right? Me being just a black man, period. Yes, that is triggering. And I'm gonna be honest with you, because when I opened the door and I dapped him up, he had the swastika chain on. Me seeing him walk out with the KKK outfit, way more triggering. I was like, oh shit. Because I never thought a day in my life, even on a movie set, I'll be standing in front of somebody. And I remember, you know how I got through that? I kept looking through the peepholes, the eye holes. And I was looking so hard at one point, pause. I was like, oh, he's sweating under there. He gotta put an AC. You need a fan. Because his thing is leather. His thing is kind of.
It's not fabric.
No, it's leather. Both of them is leather. It's drip.
It's crazy.
It's like, I think he even
got a
mentioned
designer KKK outfit.
Yeah.
Balenciaga KKK outfit.
It was like, I ain't gonna lie, it was the type of leather you cut off the back of a cow. Like, that shit was fresh. Not gonna lie.
It Rolls Royce leather.
Yo, it was some good quality leather. You feel what I'm saying? I'm watching this shit, I'm like, damn. So I'm standing in front of it, and then also, that's when, you see it, but it goes into what triggers you, right? Because again, these are hateful things, right? But because I feel disconnected or, I feel a little bit, ignorant to maybe everything Jewish people went through. When I see the swastika, I'm not like, oh, hell no, yeah, take that bullshit off around me, nigga. Oh, man, let me put my cross. I don't say anything, but when I seen that, and I'm like, there was a part of me, and I think I discussed it after, I think when the camera was off, I said, how does this look for me, standing in front of somebody with that? Now, granted, we definitely put it out, but that was the most triggering thing for me, but I understand if it was someone else, it probably would be the swastika, because the nigga got this shit bust down. He got it bust down on both sides. Yeah, with a chain, like this is a Cuban chain right here. Like most jewelers, like this is what
one side.
Yeah, it's one side. The nigga had it both sides. Like the jeweler went crazy.
Top 5 has it. It was a gift. There's a video of Top 5 saying, "Yo, Ye gave this to me as a birthday gift." Yeah, and he's rocking it without Ye even being around.
You know what the illest thing about it too? So Top 5 told me, he said they did a chain swap because he gave Ye a GGG chain.
Okay.
He said that chain was the GGG chain, because that's his group, that was worn by his deceased friend, Jason. And he gave that to Ye. And in return, Ye gives him a swastika chain. That's crazy. That's crazy. And when you think about it on a bigger level,
that's crazy.
When you think about it on a bigger level, you're like, wait, hold on.
Look, I'm going to put this into the universe right now. This is what I predict will happen next for Ye at some point. He's going to bleach his skin.
Vlad.
Don't say this is crazy, because it's not.
Vlad,
your favorite artist did it.
Vlad.
Vibes Cartel.
Hold on, Vlad. I'm going to tell you the truth.
Sammy Sosa.
I'm going to tell you the truth.
Michael Jackson.
I've heard what the next thing is. You're not thinking big enough. I'll tell you off camera.
Sex change?
You're not thinking big enough. I can't believe you said, no. I heard this yesterday. But it was an off-camera conversation around some of the guys he's around that kind of came to me. And in case he wants to do it, I don't want to be the person who announced it that fucks it up. I'll tell you off camera. You can't bring it up on camera though, Vlad. You can't bring it up. You gotta, until he does it. Until he does it.
Can you say it on camera? We beep it.
You gonna believe it for real?
Come on, man. You know me.
So.
Okay. All that gets beeped out. Okay, I'm serious. Even on the members.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Apparently that was a conversation had with, you gotta bleep this part too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I was even telling the person, I said, yo, check this out. You know that person isn't that well known compared to, you know what would happen if there was like a blurb that comes across saying that is a rumor? Everybody would be in Spain. Everybody. They would figure out your line like instantly. Like,
right.
You'd have to have so much you'd have to almost Gotta believe that part too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah.
All
So
right.
that's what I heard he's gonna do. But will he do it?
Who knows? I think for someone like him, it'd be too hard to pull off.
He is. Yo, that's the thing with Ye. He is too popular. Yo, you know his popularity? And okay, I went through some bullshit earlier this year. I could feel it. Where I'm like, all right, some numbers have dipped down a little bit, whatever. With Ye, no matter what he says, he's still Ye. He's still like the 5th or 6th most streamed artist this year. Like, just think about that. The dude is so incredibly popular that no matter what he does, and he's been on a mission to try to one-up himself every time. Talk about Jay-Z's kids. He talks about this and third. He wears a KKK outfit, swastika. He's saying he made a song called Hail the Guy.
Well, right, but that's the thing, though, and I've always said this. Unless you stop the person from creating content, you can't cancel the person. You're just going to strengthen the core fan base, and then all the haters are going to come in to listen to it as well.
Yeah.
Unless you put the person in jail like R. Kelly, where he can't create anything else, or Tory Lanez, where you can, but it's very hard and you can't promote it and whatever else, or the person has to die. Right?
Yeah.
I don't want either one of them. Listen, regardless of what Kanye said, I don't want him to die. I don't want him to go to prison.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So, again, and I've explained this because even people have asked me, and I've talked to some rappers and they're like, yo, bro, that shit was so crazy, don't do it again. And I'm like, no, we're gonna go get part 2. It's gonna happen, right? And also, when I speak about Ye, I do, like, I don't really harp on some of the things I disagree with. I harp on the things I do, right? Because if I was to sit here and talk about all my disagreements with him,
He'll stop talking to you. That's what'll happen.
No, I could make a cognizant, not disagree with him about a lot. I could say it right now. I'm like, I wouldn't wear none of that bullshit. But if those things affected me that much, I wouldn't deal with him or anything. Like, I kind of just like look past a lot of that shit, right? You as a Jewish man, would you know what was also crazy? And I don't know if the guy was Jewish though. When we walked out of that hotel, I think there was a Jewish guy right there. I don't know about religion like all that well, but like the guy was wearing something that I was like, is this guy Jewish? And I promise you, go back to watch my video. It was some guy, he was wearing some type of outfit that seemed religious, but it wasn't. You could probably pull it up right when we walk out the hotel room. It looked like it was a Jewish guy right there. And I was like, and I was looking back and forth like, what's gonna happen? And the dude was like, and Ye's so authentically himself. He says to them, oh, you guys gotta see my outfit. And he just shows them, and I'm like watching. I'm seeing if he's gonna code switch. Like, oh shit, don't look at my bag. He's just like, oh, look at this. And he's like trying to give it to them. I'm like, oh, this guy he's just one way.
Yeah.
Yo, he's just.
I interviewed Kanye around 2004, and he was the exact same way that he is now. I mean, he didn't have all the anti-Semitic stuff, but just the over-the-top, super ego, exact same thing. None of this really surprises me.
Do you dislike him because of some of the stuff he's said?
I think, listen, in the beginning it bothered me, right? But as it went on further and further, I almost look at it as performance art / mental illness / trolling / whatever. Now, is Kanye actively trying to kill Jewish people? No. It's just words, right? It's just words.
However,
I've learned over time that I can't be as triggered over words as I get older, because most times it's just like I'm overreacting. Recently, I apologized for the Farrakhan misquote. You know what I'm saying?
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
And by the way,
5 years later, but it was something I've been wanting to do for a while, because I realized it's just words, man. I'm causing all this conflict, and all these people are mad and so forth. And it's like, it's just words. Like, yo, if I made a mistake, I made a mistake. And let me not take everyone's words so literally and make me throw away the entire person because they said one or two things, when these people actually have accomplishments in other regards. Kanye obviously has a lot of accomplishments in other regards. Farrakhan had a lot of accomplishments in other regards. So because they said a few things that I don't like, suddenly I'm against them? Nah, I don't try to think that way anymore.
Hey, I will say though, and to some degree, not all the way, I understand why, the ADL or maybe some entities, they're always big with.
But that's their job though. That is all they do. The ADL are there to have problems with people saying certain words. That's their entire business.
Yeah, but here's the thing. What I'm trying to say is that I ain't even gonna lie to you. Kanye's kind of starting normalizing some of this type of rhetoric now. Like, one of my favorite songs right now is World War III, and he up in there saying all type of shit. I just try to censor myself when I'm singing it. But when someone that popular has that rhetoric and it keeps going, after a while hearing the word or hearing a phrase shouting out Hitler, you kind of be like, well, maybe that nigga wasn't all that crazy. Not saying I think that, but it does normalize certain things that used to be, because I'm gonna be honest with you, before Ye, when I like, let's say go back to school, when I heard about and learned about everything with Germany and Nazi Germany, I was like, wow, these people are the devil, right? After all this Kanye stuff, it's almost like, all right, maybe they were bad, but you get what I'm saying? And that's what normalization does,
yeah,
right?
I get it. But if a white guy started saying, listen, the slave masters are not as bad as people make them out to be.
Right.
Look at like, okay, but look at all the homeless problem now. The slaves didn't have a homeless problem. They start saying outrageous shit that doesn't really make sense, but they're kind of trying to normalize it. So people are like, maybe that's a good point.
And I agree with you. That's why I'm asking your personal opinion, because even though you say it's just words, Ye is normalizing certain type of things, and that normalization gets other people to think about things in a way to say, instead of saying, like, the story on face value is, this shit was crazy, these people were evil, and these people, there was a genocide that happened to these people.
Yeah.
Now when people hear it and keep hearing this rhetoric, they're like, maybe there's more to the story.
Well, it's also happening at a time that the Israel-Palestine situation is happening. So this is sort of reinforcing some people's thoughts about how they feel about that particular war. You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot to it. But I mean, listen, in a way, I was talking to someone about this, someone's pretty famous who, I don't want to put their name out, because these are personal conversations, but she was like, he's kind of been doing a PR campaign for Jews for like 2 years. And I'm like, yeah, he kind of has. Because people don't really talk about Jews that much. And suddenly he's putting it.
It's not.
Nah, but it's like, I think that most sane people are looking at this going like, this is ridiculous. There's nothing cool about Nazis. There's nothing cool about Hitler. Germany's not trying to prop up this shit. You know what I'm saying? And, but at the end of the day, it's like, look, I was just on Pierce Morgan. And if
you listen to Kanye West or Ye, if you listen to him over the last 2 years, you'll go in with a blind bias and say, man, I can't fuck with somebody who is of that ethnicity or religion. I'm telling you, like,
because he keeps pushing that narrative.
That's the prevalent narrative that is there, and I'm not saying it will ever be as extreme where someone might be like, oh, you want to do harm to them, and obviously it should never be that, or even any of this, but still, it starts to make someone who's a regular person almost develop these biases because you're hearing an artist who you listen to his music and subliminally these messages are going to seep into your brain.
There's nothing good about it.
And the message might just be like, yeah, these type of niggas gonna take advantage of you. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's nothing good about it, but
if Ye was around you and he was talking like that, would you step to him and say, man, could you please stop talking about my
I would have a
people?
conversation with him about it.
Okay.
I would address what he's saying.
And if he says, man, shut the fuck up, I'm going to keep talking about these Jewish people.
And I'll tell him to shut the fuck up and you're going to hear what the fuck I got to say.
Okay, all right.
You know me, I'm confrontational with people. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not one of these guys that just, like, sits there and lets people yell at me and blah, 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 and insult me. You've never seen that.
Yeah.
I'm just not like that, So I just don't think he would have that type of conversation with me. Like, I've only done one interview with him. I don't see him reaching out for a second interview, anytime soon.
I think he would.
I would sit down with him 100%, but it won't just be me listening to all this kind of stuff.
That would just argue.
Listen, because I don't even think it'd be an argument. It's just like, look, like Kanye knows that not all black people are the same. He knows not all Spanish people are the same. You can't just sit there and say every single person is born with this inclination to do bad things. It just doesn't exist.
Yeah, he might give you the exception pass, but he gonna sit there in front of your face and talk about what Jewish people do or don't do.
I think that would be the illest interview he's ever done. If he sat down with me and there was some real pushback, but it's not gonna be like, he went at it with like
He's
Pierce
gonna use
Morgan.
anecdotal situations. He's gonna be like, so why do you think that I don't got my master's from UMG? It's because Leo Cohen is because my man got
Because you signed the deal that you signed. You didn't have to sign that
then
deal. Did someone put a gun in your head and make you sign that deal?
And they're gonna bring it back to you and say, all right, so let's peel back the layers. So why is the music industry where they have these things called masters and slaves? Who established that?
Masters and slaves? What do you mean?
Well, in the music business, the entire structure of how it's set up is that there's songs that gets commercialized, and the original copy of the song is
called a master.
It's a master, and any subsequent copy is called slaves. That's how it's referred to in OG contracts.
But master slave doesn't just refer to black people in America. It's a general term.
Well, I'm hypothetically hitting
there's
you.
programming terms of master and slave.
I'm hypothetically hitting you with if Ye. You see, we've never seen Ye in an intellectual conversation defending these things. But if he tried to,
hit him up. Say Vlad is willing to sit down with you. I will fly wherever.
Bring security. No, I'm serious. Bring security. Like,
I'll have security.
So they said that if Aiden Ross had went to Spain, they said we were gonna put Aiden Ross in a room. And then we were gonna, I forgot what they said, we were gonna grill him about something. And then Aiden heard it and it was just like, what? He was like, yo, because he was gonna go there. He was gonna go there.
I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll go.
Yo, Top 5 said when he went there, he said he got greeted with like 6 securities with AR-15s.
That's cool. You think Kanye's gonna bring me out there to murder me? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
I don't think so either. But I'm not a scary guy in general. You know what I'm saying?
And you know that would be a legendary interview.
Listen, call him up. Say, yo, Vlad wants to sit down with you.
I'm pretty sure. You know what? He would definitely sit down with you. If you go to Spain?
I would go to Spain. Give me a date. I will fly out.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah.
I'll tag along.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah,
we'll go together.
You know, I've been waiting. Ye's been asking me to come. I'm like, yo, why can't we go back just come back to the United States, my guy? Like, I don't want to take these like 13-hour flights.
Man,
in countries that don't speak
first
English.
Class. We'll get a nice flight. There'll be a
movie
on the plane.
That will be a movie now.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you.
We can film it.
I just want to be a fly on the wall just to be like, I just want to see the Vlad
and Ak go to see Kanye.
No. I want to be in a corner watching you and Kanye to see, is Kanye, because I'm telling you, he is kind of, he ain't rocking with Jewish people, man.
Well, that's cool, but you know something? But I stand my ground.
Yeah,
I'm not physically scared of Kanye. You know what I'm saying?
He's not even that tall.
That's what I'm saying. I'm 6'2", but I'm not on that time. So it's like, what's gonna happen? He's gonna get his security to beat me up? No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
It's not gonna be that type of conversation.
I think he just get his talking points off, and you'd probably have some counters. And
I will. And you know, at the end of the day, I'm down to do it if he's down to do it. So I think it'd be legendary.
If he comes out with the oversized Sean Kingston size piece where it's a big ass swastika on his chest.
We'll talk about
and it's dangling and
he's
it's
not going to put it around my neck.
It's a
I'm not going
one.
top 5 on it.
I bet. And he's like, yo, Vlad, if you want this goddamn interview, he said, yo, come here. Yo, we need you to rock this swastika chain.
No, I'm not going to do it.
All right, but he said, you know what? It's cool. But I'm going to keep my big ass swastika.
That's fine.
On. And it should spin the whole time.
That's fine.
Okay, all right, see?
I'm fine with that. I'm not going to wear it myself.
Yeah, okay.
But then again, I also have, if you look at me and my career, have you ever seen me wearing a dress, wearing a wig, wearing lipstick, painting my nails, kissing a man? Like, there's a lot of stuff I could have done that could have made me go super viral. Yeah. Have I ever done any of that? It's not me. I think I am where I am because people like me for who I actually am. I'm not trying to just troll and create versions of myself that aren't authentic. I'm authentically who I am. You know my voice. You know who I am. Yeah, I'm not going to wear a swastika chain. I'm not going to humiliate myself to be around Kanye. There has to be a level of mutual respect. Now, we could yell and we could argue. That's cool. But you're not going to put a swastika chain on and be like, I'm top 5. That's not going to happen.
I feel like many artists are definitely scared of him right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to Yachty. Yachty hung up on me for me asking if he would hop on the song with him. Yeah, I think they look at him as radioactive and kind of like, hey, you could maybe still keep your billionaire status after all that.
Yeah.
I can't. I mean, shit. Even Ty Dolla $ign was like, man, let me.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot, especially if you're under a system. Now, me, I'm not under a system. I'm a YouTuber.
Yeah.
I have my own company. Now, would I
think that's why he's linked with many independent creators.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, would I put that video on YouTube? Probably not. I'd have to figure out another way to put it out, like you did. To. But yeah, I would absolutely sit down. You know, I mean, there's been some legendary moments in this whole situation, like when Cameron said that Kanye and R. Kelly put a stain on Chicago, and then, you know, Kanye responded, and Cameron was like, "I don't usually go back and forth with people that suck dick." You know what I mean? So
I don't think that's fair, though, man. Kanye was a kid when that happened. I really don't even judge him for it. But also, I give him a lot of passes because this is how great music is. A great musician's, you forgive him for a lot of stuff. Like, you know, if I seen a video of let me not even make up a scenario, but after Frank Ocean wrote that letter talking about he loved men, I couldn't listen to his music the same no more, honestly. I was just like, I remember listening to the song Thinking About You, and whoever I was having a crush on at that time, I married that song to the thought of that person. When Frank Ocean told me he was gay, I was just like, yeah, we're not even talking about the same thing. Like, I'm in New Zealand, and this nigga's in, you know what I mean, Omaha. So I couldn't really relate to him. Ye said that shit, and I'm like, the Cousin song, I don't really get jiggy with the first half of it, but the second half, that shit fire. I'm sorry. Like, I give Ye some passes. I won't lie to you.
I mean, look, Khalid, the R&B singer, he got exposed as being gay.
Oh, he gay too?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, like his ex-boyfriend. Like,
yeah.
Right. And, you know, and the funny thing is...
I wasn't listening to him like that anyway.
Yeah, we don't really listen to him, right? But the first thing I did, I'm like, let me pull up his new music. Let me just see what this guy's... You know, I haven't listened to him in a while. There's some songs that I've liked from before. And the first song that comes up is Khalid and Chloe, right? They have a duet. Yeah, Chloe Bailey. And I'm listening to the song going like, are they talking about the same guy that they have a crush on in the song? Like, you know, that's the first thing I thought.
I ain't gonna lie, like, Tyler, the Creator, ever since he said he came out in the garden shit or whatever, like, I don't listen to Tyler, the Creator, for him talking about women, though. So, like, I still listen to his music, you know?
I mean, that whole crew was gay.
If he was talking about, like, some...
You know, Odd Future is, I think, the first major gay hip-hop crew.
What?
Odd Future.
You mean major gay hip-hop group? Who gay?
Tyler.
I don't even know. Did they know Tyler was
Frank Ocean. Sid. The girl. There's other members in that group. There's a member of that group that Tyler was having sex with. I heard from someone that was part of that little clique.
It was a dude?
A dude. So that's 4 that I know of right now.
I thought Tyler was trolling. I was about to...
No.
So Tyler's fucking niggas.
He's gay, yeah.
Oh.
Well, that's cool, be gay. Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, no, and I want to clarify.
It's not like you can sue me for defamation because you put out the gay thing on
I don't
bunch
care
times.
which one of y'all niggas is straight, which one of y'all gay, but it is a mental block for me to listen to y'all make love music when y'all singing about dick and balls, and I like to hear music about wet vaginas. Like, it's just a disconnect.
Look, I don't listen to Lil Nas X anymore. I mean, I thought Old Town Road was a brilliant song.
Yeah,
but that was it for me. After that song, you know, and he came out like really extra gay, and I'm like, okay, but he does really gay stuff. That's not really my thing. I don't watch RuPaul's Drag Race in my spare time.
Yeah, and by the way,
it's just not my thing.
I don't want to hear Nicki rapping about sucking a lot of cock, like, because that doesn't resonate.
I don't really listen to female hip hop all that much.
Y'all gotta rap about, some non-sexual shit, and we could possibly bump it. At least me, but homosexuals kind of singing about their love for other dudes. I can't relate. and women talking about how they love busting open that pussy and fucking all these random dudes and sucking dudes off. Yeah, that's not my cup of tea neither.
I don't listen to Sexy Red in my downtime.
Nah, I listen to Sexy Red.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate what she's done, but I'm not listening to Sexy Red when I'm driving around in my Tesla. Okay?
First of all, Take Heath is lacer than Beast, and Beast is fire.
No, I get
Drake
it.
need to get back with Take Heath. But
Yeah.
here's the thing. With Sexy Red, I listen to Sexy Red because it's like a hoe whistle. It's like when you put Sexy Red on, even a good girl, it brings the hoe out of them. I'm telling you.
Listen, Fredo Bang, he said it perfectly. Like, this was like maybe like a year and a half ago. He said, Sexy Red is every woman's secret spirit animal.
That's a fact.
Sexy Red is a lot of these females' spiritual animal.
Yeah, I think so.
Like she's the side of them that they wanna, like that chick that's working as a nurse and the chick that's working in a law firm and stuff who can't really show too much. She the side of them that they wish they could just go run outside butthole naked and be ratchet and shit like that. You know what I'm saying?
Every
That's a fact.
woman wishes she could be a Sexy Red at some point in her life.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
Yo, I think Sexy Red
Perfectly said.
Sexy Red put the city girls out of business because they were faking it. Nah, they were faking it. Sexy Red is that.
Oh, yeah.
Yo, people could always see through you. Sexy Red is 100% unadulterated, ratchet, ghetto hoe. Right? And when we see that shit, even if we're like, yo, ew, I would never want my girl to be that, you know there's a place for that. Right? It's like you wouldn't want to wife up a stripper, but you would go to a strip club.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? You know there's a place for it. And authenticity in any type of facet works. The city girls was faking and frauded. They said they wanted to slang that pussy around like Tom Brady, except they all had boyfriends talking about they was in love. Wasn't working. Sexy Red, YoungBoy Get Out, she just started twerking for the camera. She said, this for you. She fucking on Chief Keef. She giving, come on, man. Ever since I seen that sex tape when she had the ankle monitor on and the nigga was piping around, I said, yo, this chick is as real as they come. And I'm glad she gets all the benefits from that.
Well, YoungBoy's out.
Yeah.
And he
YB's
dropped
out.
the first song.
Yep.
Got about 1 million streams. Fresh out the
Million
gate.
views on YouTube first day.
Now,
Love it.
listen. Me and Tony Yayo, right? We had dinner after our interview the other night, right? And we're talking about how Kendrick is breaking all these records with all this concert. I think he did a $9 million show in Houston. I think he went to somewhere else, did an $11 million show. And Tony was like, you know who about to break all those records?
Who?
NBA YoungBoy. You don't think so?
Tony Yayo would be tripping, man. What is he talking?
YoungBoy never tours.
No.
His tour is going to be bananas.
Okay, are we talking about the Kendrick thing, or are we talking about like the Kendrick?
So
thing?
you're saying that YoungBoy is not going to outsell Kendrick when he starts doing these stadium tours?
Vlad, are you asking me serious? Tony Yayo is too old, and respectfully, because I love him, but he's too old and been in this shit for too long to be thinking like that. First of all, let me give Tony Yayo some game. Like, you see the tour you just went on with 50, that's now the top 5 selling tour of all time.
Correct.
Y'all niggas been going on tours. Why those tours wasn't top selling? The point of how touring works is that the people who were G-Unit fans then got the most money they got now. You hit your financial peak at a later time. YoungBoy fans don't have, on average, $100 to pay for tickets. No, I'm serious.
Okay, I see what
These
you're
are
saying.
kids.
Well, what about, okay, not the ticket prices, but just the amount of people that show up? If he makes the tickets affordable, it makes it all ages.
No, it's gonna be all ages, but he's gonna do popularity is a different level. The popularity where a Drake and a Kendrick's at, and YoungBoy is a very different level. YoungBoy is gonna do some arenas. Arenas is 17,000.
Okay.
Kendrick is doing a stadium that's 50,000.
Okay. All right. I mean, it's an interesting point. I see where you're going with this.
You get what I'm saying? Also, I know a lot about touring. Is like YoungBoy with those prices wouldn't be able to get in a stadium. It costs too much. You're not making enough, and the show would be shitty because then, based on what you're getting in terms of income, paying for the venue, all of the staff, security, the load-ins, you can't have no pyrotechnics. Like, you're gonna have a really piss poor show because, like, for example, I'll give you some numbers here. Like, Rod Wave, who just did his tour, he spent $20 million on production. You got to, if you're gonna make a great show, you gotta spend money to make money, and that's where ticket prices go up. Anyway, YoungBoy is gonna go on an arena tour. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great because really people just want to see him perform. It doesn't have to be the most elaborate show. Give him a stage, have a little spotlight on him, have his homies just jump around, you know what I mean, and him rap his song, and it's gonna go crazy. He's gonna do an arena tour that is going to kind of, rival what Future does, right? And Future is an artist that is coming through a label system that is really, it's a concerted effort to promote him, while YoungBoy he's a thuggin'. But YoungBoy is the spirit animal of all the YNs. He's always been, right? He took over that reign from Chief Keef. Chief Keef was the spirit animal for the YNs from 2012 to 17, 18. And after that point, it's YB. He's their spirit animal. They walk. I seen some of these YNs, they walk bow-legged because YoungBoy walk bow-legged. YoungBoy jeans tight, their jeans tight.
Right.
Like they want to do everything like they even make their face in their little pictures like him. They mad for no reason too.
They'll dent their forehead for him.
Yes. Yes. They want to. I see dudes who from New York or from they might be from Milwaukee. They start adopting his way of talking. A lot of them dudes from Louisiana. They be like, "Say," and they always start sentences with "say." Other niggas do it too. So YoungBoy got these kids by the throat, pause, and I think they're gonna show up. It's gonna be a ghetto mess in there. You know what I mean? Bring a shiesty, some Charleston White beer mace, and maybe if you could bring a stick up in there, because it's gonna be. What do you think that's gonna be?
He's on a stick.
What do you think a YoungBoy concert about to look like?
Oh, I wouldn't be in the crowd for that. No thanks.
I think it's gonna average 35 fights per show. Come on. But it is the most underserved population in the hip-hop genre. Many touring companies don't want to go on tour for that crowd because they don't have enough capital. Like, we call that the PS4 crowd. That's what they used to make the joke about YoungBoy. Yeah, he don't sell no albums.
Wait, the PS4 crowd?
Yeah.
Meaning that you can't afford the PS5, you still got the PS4.
And also they can't afford to buy the music, so they just bump it off YouTube all day. That's it. Because his numbers has always been spectacular on YouTube.
Right.
And he was number one on YouTube for like 5 years straight.
Yeah. No.
Every month.
No, he's the king of YouTube.
Right?
Yeah.
But on Spotify, he was never number one. They're like, these niggas don't got no damn $10 per month. They got YouTube. They only got Wi-Fi. You know what I mean? But they're gonna show up. That week when YoungBoy come to whatever city, robberies are gonna be at an all-time high. Trust me, niggas is gonna rob for a fit, rob for some money for tickets. They gotta rob to get some liquors, whatever, drugs. They gotta get a stoley to drive to the spot. It's gonna be lit. Crime is going up no matter where it goes. Okay, trust me. It's gonna be. They might as well call it "Raise the Murder Rate" tour. This shit's gonna be going bananas. I'm gonna show up to some of these days, but I'm gonna have to show up with some serious law enforcement. Okay?
Well, it's been a year since the Drake and Kendrick battle.
Yeah.
People are talking about it quite a bit. You had some interesting statements recently.
Yeah.
You said if Nipsey died because he disrespected someone for calling them a snitch, what should Drake do to Kendrick for disrespecting him by lying about him being a pedophile?
Yeah, so that wasn't verbatim my words, but I'll explain. I was watching this interview or debate with two dudes I really don't like. One is Millie Mall, and the other dude is DJ Head. DJ Head calls himself that he's damn near quasi in Kendrick's camp. And they were having
he's
this
the DJ for TDE, right?
Yeah, so they were having this conversation about whether it's disrespectful to blatantly put a title on someone saying they're a pedophile. And for him, when asked the question if he thought Drake was a pedophile, he was really elusive and basically was almost saying, well, this isn't that, it's not that crazy that Kendrick did that. And really, I think that guy's just a dick sucker. Like, he just wouldn't admit that. In the world, if I called you a murderer, you'd probably not do anything. Or maybe you just, maybe you check me. If I call you a rapist or a snitch, especially in urban cities, you're probably gonna try to really fuck me up. These are just terms and labels, that jackets that nobody wears. And I use the point of Nipsey. You see, a lot of people have changed that narrative because, and I think they've been trying to act like there's some other conspiracy. No, Nipsey Hussle passed away because, and I'm going only what I heard from prosecutors. This is how prosecutors convicted this guy. Nipsey Hussle tried to check a man and accused him of cooperating, snitching.
Correct.
That man felt that offended by that label. He doubled back and he killed Nipsey.
Yeah.
That's just what happened. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people love Nipsey. Nipsey's legacy is very well respected. But if you ask people who come from inner cities and these hoods and all these gangsters, a lot of people say, that's kind of, if you disrespect a nigga who's a snitch, you're supposed to handle it right there. They know the ramifications of calling somebody a snitch.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially like in prison,
Yes.
it is universally accepted that potentially could be a death sentence.
Yes. So
In the prison. Now, the street and the prisons aren't the same, but there are some relations.
that's the point I'm making.
Yeah.
So a lot of people know when you use certain phrases or you say certain things to certain people, that could result in death. And it clearly did in Nipsey's case.
Yes.
So that's when I brought up the Kendrick situation with Drake. Because there were people who were trying to say, yo, Ak, you be having top 5 on your stream. And when top 5 is on your stream, you be helping to instigate something that might turn violent. And the violence might be someone getting harmed, or maybe Kendrick gets harmed, and you're the one instigating it. And I've always liked to check every single person. After I just told you the story about Nipsey, I'm not telling you what's right or what's wrong. But I need everybody to accept that when Kendrick got in that booth and decided to rap about Drake being a pedophile, he accepted that there might be consequences.
Right.
And those consequences would be because of his own words. You don't know if Drake got a homie who's down to crash out, or if Baco, who's now, I think his life got to be, every time he probably changes his name when he meet new people these days. Because he's like, yo, what's up, my name Baca? Wait, you the one with a weird case? So like, you done fucked up his life. These people, or somebody close to them, and this is how rap beef goes. This is how rap beef goes. I am cognizant of that because when I talk shit about people, I know somebody else that might be cool with them might not just be like, oh, I'm about to respond online. I might siak about it.
Right.
So I said, you can't blame anybody, and I've said this, and I still say this. If one of these guys were to die, it's not out of the context of this battle. Niggas have died for less.
Well, I mean, Drake's house got shot up.
Yes.
His bodyguard got hit.
Yeah, and not saying it had nothing to do with that particularly, but there's
The timing of it makes everyone assume it has something beef related. Maybe it wasn't Kendrick, maybe something to do with The Weeknd or some of the other people he took shots at.
There's a sanitized view of this because the biggest song in the world is still celebrating calling out a pedophile or a supposed one.
Right. At the Super Bowl, no less.
So there's a sanitized version of this where everybody dances and parties, but no one gets hurt. That's not how it usually goes. And every time when I bring it up, and I even said, if Drake saw Kendrick and Drake didn't step to him, I would think Drake's pussy. Let's be honest.
Well, I don't think that
they wouldn't see each other. I know they wouldn't see each other.
There's no way that those two could possibly be face to face.
No,
unless they both said there is an arranged meeting.
Hold on.
Everyone get out of our way.
Wait, Vlad. That's not the point. What I'm trying to say. If Mr. Beast made his biggest YouTube video saying Vlad is a pedophile,
yeah,
and you see Mr. Beast when you're catching a fucking Uber and you see him across the street, you not stepping to him?
Yeah, I'm gonna jump on him.
Exactly. That's the point I'm trying to say.
Right, but what I'm saying is,
I know they'll never meet.
No. Here's the thing, though, right? This goes back to a very old saying in hip hop.
Yeah.
I forgot who said this. It was in an interview someplace, but someone said, I really wonder if these rappers would be dissing each other if they actually had to fight themselves when they ran into each other. So the understanding is everyone talks and everyone takes these shots, but everyone's protected by entourages and security. When was the last time a rapper actually got into a fist fight with someone they're actually beefing with? It almost never happens. When was the last time? Serious question. When was the last time two rappers that are beefing ran into each other and the two of them started fighting with each other?
It's been a while.
I don't remember the last time.
Vlad, here's my whole thing.
Everyone's insulated. That's all I'm saying.
My whole thing is about the sanitization of some shit that historically and just normally always goes left once you get to that point. I'm consistent. This ain't only with Kendrick and Drake. I said when Nicki Minaj said that about Shorty's mom, if Shorty was thinking like I'm knocking her head off, that's what comes. Let me tell you this.
Are you talking about Megan?
Yes.
Yeah.
My thought is this. Certain shit when it comes out of your mouth, you can say whatever you want. But that comes with the implicit understanding that other person might want to kill you. Mm-hmm. When you say you smoking on his dead homie, you should understand when you see him, if he shoots you, yeah, he's gonna go to jail. But that's probably one of the reasons a nigga would kill you. You're smoking on his homie. That's how it works. You don't get to run around and be like, yeah, I'm smoking on your dead man's, fuck him. I'm gonna piss on his grave, and he sees you, and it's just no. So that's the whole point.
Imagine
even
if
with this
Kanye
battle.
runs into Virgil's wife.
Shit, it should be violence too. Should be. I'm serious. Like, and again, all I was saying is that while we have this sanitized view of how this battle is, we should be very still leery, because it don't matter if it happened now or 5 years or whatever, that some shit could happen. Some shit could happen. And I only use the Nipsey analogy to say that's an example of someone, of the extremity of when someone doesn't like a jacket that was put on them that they disagree with, and they're down to do something about it.
Now, the lawsuit. There was a rumor that Universal was going to settle for $250 million. I don't know if that was true.
I don't know why they made that up.
Yeah, that's a makeup.
Yeah.
That's a makeup situation. So, and look, Ye was praising Drake. Oh, Drake is going to change the music industry for everybody, and other people are like, oh yeah, now we're actually behind this lawsuit and so forth. Do you think this lawsuit will actually accomplish what Drake is setting out to do? Do you think there'll be a significant settlement, or will it ultimately be thrown out after years and years in court?
I rock with Drake, and but I don't like how this lawsuit is presented at all. I think this lawsuit needs to be of the ilk of I'm standing for all artists, and that's what differs with every time we've seen this before. When Taylor Swift has gone to the major labels, she's always says, I'm an artist, and you've been taking advantage of many artists for all this time. I'm gonna stand up for them. We need more payments from royalties on streaming. She's made it very clear, very transparent. I'm standing up as the biggest artist for all the artists, even Jay-Z. And I think Jay-Z's a slimy motherfucker, but still. Jay-Z, even when he was trying to do eventually the slimy thing of sell title, but when he was fighting for titles, survival in the streaming game, his idea was artists should get paid more. And these other places pay artists like shit. Mm-hmm. Come together with me. Let's try to do this together. And people bought in. This lawsuit with Drake,
it's really about Kendrick.
Fans are trying to make it like it's about all artists.
It's really about Kendrick. It's really about
Drake
that song.
haven't said nothing that it's all about all artists. It seems like he's just saying, nigga, I'm suing them.
Yeah.
Which, that hurts him, I think. It hurts him because why the fuck would we really support it? Other than say, I'm a fan of yours and I want you to win. But this doesn't seem like it's gonna have a ripple effect. And he hasn't positioned it as such. And this is where I always wonder about how his team structures stuff. Because when you choose to do a lawsuit like this, you should have a PR initiative to get everybody on your side. And I don't think Drake has done that. And I don't like that. So to answer the other question, how do I think it's gonna end? This shit's gonna get dragged out, and it's gonna end with a new deal and a big record from Drake. Okay? You see, fans are really intrigued, thinking that the Ponzi scheme is gonna get blown up, it's gonna be over. No. It's the music industry is the music industry. Nothing topples it, and nothing will change it. You get what I'm saying? There's a few monopolies that exist, but definitely within the entertainment world, you'll never be able to topple. Number one is the major label systems, right? They own the DSPs. They have significant stock in radio advertisement. They are the backbone of every ancillary.
Wait, hold on. Universal doesn't own Spotify.
Yes, they do.
They might have a piece.
Yeah.
It's a public company.
That's the point. But how did they get a piece?
We could all get a piece.
No.
They have a bigger piece?
It's not about just having ownership. The deal that was done, like let's not be dense here. They got a part of Spotify in a deal for licensing. So they have some influence, right? Hey, you need our catalog.
Universal Music Group owns a minority stake in Spotify.
Yes, but it's not about owning it like
3.27%.
It's not about the
I know
percentage.
in the grand scheme of things, that's a big chunk because it's a big
It's
public
about the
company right now.
influence. It's about the influence.
3%.
It's about the influence.
3%.
No, it's Vlad, you're arguing it's not about how much they own. It's about the influence. The major labels own 85% of streamed music. Their catalogs is 85%. It has to be licensed. These streaming services, you could have the best technology. You need the catalog.
No, you're right. If UMG says we're pulling all our music, we're taking it all down, Spotify would be in shambles.
You got to play ball. Put it like this. And this is what I'm saying. Fuck the percentage. This is why recently, UMG in their call, they've been putting pressure on, even Spotify to create new revenue. Because Spotify done told them, we're not getting no new signups. We're not seeing the growth we used to see. So you know what they said? Well, we're the music industry. We need more money for the fucking music. You know what they said they're gonna do? Find other ways to tax the people that's there. We're gonna give different tiers. We're gonna try to see if we could, so again, if you think that UMG got like a hands-off relationship with Spotify, they're together. Spotify needs music. UMG got the biggest catalog. You think they don't got? If they nudge them motherfuckers gonna move. That's how it works.
I mean, look, when Universal responded to Drake and said, "Be careful what you wish for," after wanting to see all the back end stuff and so forth, are they basically saying, "Listen, everyone is juking their numbers, and if you want to go and expose this, we'll see that your numbers were faked as well," and so forth? I mean, is that kind of what it implies?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
So
it's not like they were just boosting Kendrick and they've never boosted Drake.
No, if you really ask me, I think what they're trying to say is that, number one, we ain't do nothing. And if you ever see how major labels work, these days a major label will outsource half of what they're doing.
Huh.
Okay? So sometimes bullshit will be done. There are bullshit that gets done. They didn't do it themselves. They go through consultants. I'm a consultant for many labels, right? Now I might consult and say, hey, hire these guys here. These guys here know how to promote music. These guys are botting. These guys are doing all type of fuck shit. Universal don't know that. They cut the check. All right, Act, you take that. Job done. They look at the charts or the numbers that come in. 3 weeks later, okay, job done. We ain't do nothing wrong. But is it there? Yes. So they have that plausible deniability. And what I believe what they're saying to Drake when they said, be careful what you wish for, I always said that to Nicki too. Like Nicki used to be like, oh, these other people, they're like buying numbers, payola, this and third. And I'm like, you know you're one of the golden girls for Republic, right? You think everybody else is paying and y'all like, oh, we're integrity. You don't need to know. I think there's some shit with Drake that Drake don't know about his damn own career. Drake probably thought, oh, nah, Tootsie Slide was popping off because I did right foot up, left foot slide. No, nigga. We hit the button. We called these other people. These other people worked on these other songs. So you get to find out the same motherfuckers who you may think you have the expose on that maybe helped or did the botting for those guys, they bought it for you. You have no idea. Again, and this is where also even with Kendrick, I do think some of Kendrick streams were botted based on information I heard. I don't think Kendrick ever sat in a room and say, bought it. I don't think most of these artists do. Because most of these successful artists, what they're seeing, they think they're lit already. They usually don't understand when the numbers don't match what they see. These guys will go out to a place and get a lot of, like, think about this. I know artists, like Russ, right? or these are.
Yeah. Russ recently said that he wants numbers taken off of Spotify. He said it's an unrealistic number, creates weird expectations and criticisms. When you look at like Apple, there's no numbers and everything works just fine. He has a point. But I think people like to see numbers.
That would help. So Spotify, from what I've heard, like the people try to bot Spotify way more than Apple. Apple doesn't really tell anyone but the people who are the artist manager what the numbers are currently, or what it has been for the last couple of days, and what record labels do, and these ancillary promotion groups. Because think about this, right? This is really what happens. Okay, remember, record labels is just cutting checks. You cut me a check, and we're gonna promote, I don't know, Chanel bag. That's the name of the song. Song named Chanel bag. All right, so you cut me this check. Really, I ain't doing nothing that's really that spectacular to promote the song. Yeah, I paid some Instagram pages, some Twitter pages, this and third. It's probably still not gonna make that big of a jump. So now I wanna keep getting, they gave me $100,000 to promote the song. I spent $20,000 and I got 80 left. The song drops, and then all of a sudden I see the song numbers based on what the label told me they had projected. It's not even hitting that. And they gave me money to make it look even better. So you know what I do? I go hit up my man, my guy who runs the streaming farms. And I tell him, hey, we need to get these numbers to this level, because here's the thing, I need to keep getting paid from this place with things that the music is going up, right? And yet, it's a lot of fraudulence that's in the music industry. Like, once it streams, it's always open for manipulation and all type of, disruption. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'm not surprised. Like, anybody who's surprised by that is, like, Kendrick fans will be, like, they'll argue me to this day. Oh my God, why would you say he bought it? And I've always just said, like, bro, I think all these artists bought.
Well, I mean, there's actually a list on Rap TV, the channel, the Twitter channel, that actually listed out the most streamed rap albums of 2025 so far.
Okay.
What do you think number one is?
GNX.
Correct. 1.77 billion.
Okay.
Number two.
If it's rap, Cardi.
Correct.
I've never seen this list, by the way.
Music, 1.13 billion. Number three.
Number three.
This is actually a very interesting game because you're 2 for 2 so far.
Okay. So number three, I really wanted to go Lil Baby, but I know it's not Lil Baby.
No.
I'm actually gonna go. I'm gonna go Drake for All the Dogs.
No.
Wow. Vultures?
Nope.
Who?
Chromacopia.
Oh, okay. Okay.
888 million.
Okay.
Number four.
Did I say the name already?
Nope.
Travis.
Nope.
What?
Nope.
Who else?
You want to know?
Yeah.
Doechii. Alligator Bites Never Heal. 840 million.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Doechi's like the most streamed artist I've never heard a song from. Like, bruh, I've never heard no song from her.
I heard some of her songs. It's cool. I like her. Not really my thing.
No, I've heard a song, but it felt like elevator music. So like, no, not like it's boring. It's just that like it was playing in the background of the background, and it's like, oh, this is a song I could get that everybody likes, but I wasn't tapped into it. So I'm not saying she boring or nothing like that. It's just I've never put on a song by her.
Well, after this is now older albums, so I'm not going to have you guess them because it's kind of pointless.
Yeah.
But after that is Damn, Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
After that is Utopia, 571 million.
Man, where's All the Dogs?
Graduation is next. Kanye's Graduation is still, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Black Panther.
Soundtrack.
Yeah.
Wow.
Heroes and Villains. Astro World. Goodbye and Good Riddance. Who is that?
Juice WRLD.
Juice WRLD. Wow. Shout out to Lil Baby. He about to do my show again. And then it goes Eminem Show, Good Kid, Mad City, Hearthstone Psycho. I don't know who that is. Any idea?
I forgot.
That is Don Toliver.
Yes.
Can't Rush Greatness. Who's that? Man, we really, we're not as up on it as we should be right now. Hold on, let me see who that is, because I don't know either.
No. Like, I remember the album, I can't remember the artist. Like, I remember the artist.
Central C. Ooh, okay, yeah.
Okay.
Views is next.
That's the first Drake album on there?
That's the first Drake album on there.
And
Views.
that's to date.
406 million streams.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty low down. So the shit with Party Next Door, as popular as it is not on this list.
Well, that's R&B.
You think so?
Yeah, it is. This is
Oh,
R&B.
so maybe that's
Yeah,
why it's not. Okay, so
yeah,
okay.
so if it was
Got
R&B, actually, Drake is. I don't know if completely overall he's outstreamed GNX, but to current week he's outstreamed GNX.
Okay.
Like if it's been out for like 8 weeks compared to the first 8 weeks there,
Yeah.
it's outstreamed it. But it's R&B, so it's not in the rap category.
Right. Next is 17. Is that XXX?
X album.
Right. Then Flower Boy, Tyler
Tyler.
again. Take Care, Drake. Get Rich or Die Trying, the oldest album on this list. Yeah, shout out to 50.
I wonder who gets those checks.
And in the final slot in this particular list
Yeah.
is someone you mentioned before, Lil Baby, Wham.
Ah.
Yep. 346 million.
Really?
That's it. That's the whole list for now.
Okay.
Interesting list, right?
It's a very interesting list.
A lot of old albums.
Well, this kind of goes back to what I've said consistently for a while, that streaming is all about your old work. You want one of these motherfuckers to make a classic and then just keep making music afterwards. Like, even as much as Kanye is doing all this stuff, why do you think Kanye has, Kanye no longer drops music under the Kanye West handle, right? He drops it under Ye, and he dropped Donda 2 under the name Donda.
Yeah, so he dropped it, but then he didn't clear he didn't pay the producers, I guess, so they got it taken down. So is it taken down or is it back up?
I think it's still up. I think he's working with those people to try to fix those issues.
Well, originally Donda 2 came out on a stem player.
Yes.
So I remember I interviewed ATL Jacob, and he was like, yeah, I produce songs on there. I don't really know what's going on with it. It's like...
Well, the problem is, if I'm thinking how an entertainment lawyer would think, is that if it was only intended for the stem player, you get a much more discounted rate for a lot of things if it's not going to be on DSPs, right?
Right.
And that was probably the deal then. And then now you're putting it on a different outlet, right? So now it's like, hey, we need a new deal. Or some of these guys, again, it probably was harder to have a takedown when it was physical things being sent out.
You're right.
Right?
Yeah,
now
how do you
you're
take down? Yeah. Well, you could actually send a cease and desist to the company.
Yeah, but music works like 6 to 9 months late. So the album's already sent out before the producers knew they weren't getting paid. Because when a lot of times they don't get an upfront fee, the producers wait 6 months after the money came in for them to get paid. So by that time, Ye's already off to some other shit. And they're like, wait, the money ain't never coming? And they probably was tight working with lawyers trying to get back all that time. Till now, they're like, no, we could get it down in real time this time.
You said that most rappers are struggling on the charts these days. You said outside of a few outlets, outliers such as Doechii, BX The Plug, Lil Durk, Tyler the Creator, most people...
Yep.
With successful albums, it's really Drake and Kendrick, and Opium artists, and you actually, I guess, said that even though you've been critical in the past of Megan Thee Stallion, her new single is not doing well and you're not going to actually bash it.
Yeah, I've also been saying that new artists don't even want to drop no more. Like, that's what I think the battle has done for the industry. I think the battle has been the best and the worst thing that happened to the music industry. Why? Because the major labels are saving a shit ton of money by not having to spend money on production, marketing, all these ancillary costs that it takes to get an artist to the point of dropping the product, which is the music that they then monetize off. A label makes more money off of your old projects. They own more of it. They don't have to promote it anymore. It's free cash. So what happens is you get this battle between Drake and Kendrick. They're spending zero marketing dollars, and those old albums are just charting high. They're charting high.
I mentioned a few. There was 3 total Drake. There's 3 total Kendrick albums on that list.
Yeah,
only one of them is new.
Yeah, and they're
Good Kid, Mad City is his first album that came out 10 years ago.
And here's the thing: Interscope owns all of that.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Like, that's why, like, for example, that's why Interscope has this new deal with Kendrick. Kendrick owns his new stuff, but they just distribute it. But they know they're in business together. Why? When you put your new stuff out, your old stuff makes money, and we get all of that, and you get the majority of the new stuff. So, you know, the music industry has been really, they've taken a blow for hip hop because they could spend less and still get a shit ton of revenue. And it's because this battle has been helping those two artists just keep charting, but there's no new artists. For a new artist, you gotta spend money on development. You gotta do for production. You have to not only have to make the album, living expenses, give these guys a deal, then you gotta market it. You're investing a lot of money before you see any dollar. Mm-hmm. Right now, the industries, they're eating like a hog. They're just chilling. Let these guys keep beefing. That's what I'm always think about, like even to counter some of Drake's point. This industry love when y'all beef. When y'all beef, they don't have to spend no money and they get more money back, right? They don't have to invest. The investment is already made. And intrigue is gonna be there because people love watching a fight. So for the last year, I think the music industry has died. And it's died because nobody wants to put out new music. Artists are falling back because they feel like it's gonna be too much to try to strangle the attention off of these two guys. They're waiting till it dies down. And it took one brave artist, which was Cardi. I know mad niggas was supposed to drop last year. You would think it's quarantine again. Nobody wanted to drop.
Right, Cardi B pushed back her album again.
Yeah, Cardi did tell me that she's actually gonna drop. But I was talking about Playboy Cardi. Playboy Cardi.
Okay, yeah.
He's the one who dropped.
Yeah, and
right?
he down the well, Weeknd dropped.
Huh?
I mean, he's not exactly a rapper, but he overlaps the rap a lot.
Oh, The Weeknd?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's
that was a huge album.
But even when he dropped in a way where it was made for him to do good, and also it was juxtaposed to the idea that he was beefing with Drake too. You get what I'm saying? Yes.
Yeah, okay, I can see that.
I could break it down to you. The Weeknd's album before that, Dawn FM, it sold less than Gunna's album. Okay? No, I'm serious. I'm not joking. It's the first time The Weeknd ever debuted number 2, right? He debuted number 2 behind Gunna, selling like 100 and something thousand first week. You know what he did this time? He got 250,000 bundles added onto his number. That's why the numbers look so big. The Weeknd doesn't sell one to Drake. The Weeknd, it sells like between 150 to 200,000 if it's just streams. Like Drake is still the highest streamed artist per album. Like even The Weeknd doesn't compare there. But what these guys do, they do the bundle stuff. By the way, the Weeknd does amazing with tours and stuff like that. Like his tours are always big. Yeah. But so what he did was he did a great job bundling stuff. Cardi tried to do the same thing. Playboy Cardi, he had about 200,000 in bundles that they didn't count for him.
Yeah, but listen, I like Cardi's album. In fact, this is my favorite album that he's ever done. I brought in Swamp Izzo.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, Swamp Izzo talking about why Kanye wasn't on Playboy Cardi's album actually got retweeted by Kanye and replied to. Kanye's song was allegedly left off of Playboy Cardi's new album. Do you know the song I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. You've heard it?
Of course.
Okay. Is it a song that's on the album already and Kanye's vocals were taken off?
No.
Oh, it's a totally different song?
Correct.
Okay. Why do you think that Cardi took that song off?
Not took it off. We had 130 songs. We had to turn in 25. 5 more had to be on it.
Huh. So you guys just trimmed it down?
Had to.
But like I mentioned before, Kanye actually produced on the album.
Yeah.
So he's on there, just not
Correct.
as a vocalist.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was the first time I think Kanye officially posted one of our videos through one of his official social media channels. I mean, look, I think Cardi, but then again, Cardi has this rabid fan base.
Yeah.
Rabid. That just doesn't care. He could have done an album of just silence, and I think people would be rocking it. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yo, the reality of it is this, man. This was Cardi's attempt to get acceptance into the mainstream.
Yeah,
And-
no, his songs are more traditional. Plus, he got people like Kendrick on it that just destroyed those songs. Like
his fans gonna be in the know about this, but yes, he's an amazing artist, and some of his fans want to just keep him like underground, but he's too big of an artist to be kept underground.
right.
I think the reason why Ye ain't on it, and
We know why
I'm more than think.
I mean, Swamp Izzo said, listen, we just had too many songs. We just chose the ones. We had 150 songs.
Nah, I don't believe that, man.
Yeah.
Like,
But Kanye did produce on it.
that was a political move, man. Come on. It's a political move. Right?
Like, we're going to give you something, but not what you want.
No, it's a political move in the sense of Cardi's not trying to stand next to that right now.
Right.
Like, and Ye knows, he probably didn't tell Ye verbatim, but yo, this is my biggest album. I'm trying to go big mainstream.
Yeah.
I'm trying to.
Yeah, I don't need to be dragged down by all your Hitler, swastika,
yes,
sucking off your cousin type nonsense right now.
Oh, yes.
I don't want it to be just, that's what everyone focuses on. Yeah, no, I feel you.
And you know, I think Ye took that personally. And another time, because again, I keep saying Ye is uncancelable, so sometimes you might love him, hate him, ignore him, but you'll come back around again. Another time, they'll probably collab again, but I think the reason why he ain't on the album is because Cardi was trying to make sure this thing was as big as it could be, the big as the Super Bowl. That's the idea these guys are going with. I spoke to Cardi, and I spoke to him even about this, which I won't tell her full conversation. Only thing I can say is that Cardi wanted this album to be his version of Astroworld. He said, after this shit, I want him to look at me like the Travis Scott for Atlanta. So he's going big. He's going big, and to have Ye on it might have been a distraction, and Ye might have proved him right, because as soon as he wasn't on the album, he cussed him out. I mean, like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Cardi even said, shut the fuck up, Ye. He was talking about Iggy Azalea and stuff like that. And
the only thing I was on Ye's side for with that back and forth was that Cardi, even in a retaliatory sense, should have not tweeted that he was down to do a song with his daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, if you ain't fucking with him right now, you ain't fucking with the family. Just leave it alone. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you said the Young Thug is trying to remove Gunna from YSL.
Yeah.
And there is a new song with Young Thug featuring Future, Money on Money, where he said, these fucking N-words tell him for nothing. I gotta be the one calling them friend. What's funny is that me and Lil Woody actually had a conversation this morning, and he quoted that because he felt it was about him. And I'm like, I think it's about Gunna. He goes, well, I don't think anyone knows. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who do you think that was about? I mean, it sounds like Gunna to me.
I think Gunna.
Yeah.
Because just the mere fact he says telling for nothing. Man, Gunna ain't had nothing to do with nothing in that case.
Well, yeah, in fact.
Woody was shooting niggas.
Right.
He told for a reason. He told for a reason.
Right. And in fact.
A lot of people believe that Gunna was going to be okay if he just kept quiet.
Right. Because, but Young Thug essentially took the same deal that Gunna took. He admitted that YSL is a gang.
Nah, he didn't do that. Nope. He didn't do that.
He did it?
Mm-mm. Nope. He made no admissions. None. Not one. It was made clear. I watched that thing. He said, my client will not make any admissions. He wouldn't even there was even no...
Young Thug plea deal involved pleading guilty to gang, drug, and gun charges.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that YSL is a gang. It means that he was operating in a gang. By the way, go back and watch that. You'll see I'm right. There was a whole session before the judge gave her a ruling where there was two things with the gang. He only would admit that some of his behavior constituted crimes that could be seen as gang-related crimes, but he wouldn't plead guilty to being the leader of a criminal street gang. What does that mean, and why do I think that happened then? Because it killed. If he had pled guilty to the second or the latter, that he was the leader, it opens him to all type of liability in civil cases. And Brian Steele was very clear that we're not pleading guilty to that. We'll do nolo contendere, but we're not going to admit to any of those things. So yeah, he never said YSL was a gang. Like that was in a plea deal, you have to say what you're actually pleading guilty to and give what they call a summary of events, or you have to state the factual events of what that's involved in this plea, which means It'd be like, hey, on Thursday, May 2nd, I was driving on this road and I ran the red light. You usually got to do that, even in traffic court. That's the same way in criminal court. That's why when Gunna took an Alford plea, I'm pleading guilty to these things and I'm admitting, based on the plea, that YSL's a gang, this and third. He had to say that. Thug didn't. So basically, Thug kind of got the same plea without having to make those statements, but if you read between the lines, it's kind of like he almost did. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, y'all niggas went out for gang charges.
You and Wack100 have been debating recently.
Yeah. A lot of debates.
Yeah. Over the whole Big U, loose cannon situation, can you explain what the disagreement is over?
So, I don't know. You know, that case has gotten like very weird. I've always thought, and I don't think Wack understood me when I was trying to explain it to him at first, but if you ever get to do what they call content with Wack, he doesn't do it with you necessarily, but there's a Clubhouse style of, let me just overtalk to just get to my point, and it kind of loses out on the actual conversation or debate. But I personally have realized at this point it's a tactic. So here was my original theory, right? I said, all right, Big U and them just got picked up. Mm-hmm. You know, no one knew this. You didn't even know this. Back in the day when 6ix9ine got picked up, they came and talked to me. They pulled up to Complex, and they came to talk to me. And what had happened was that I posted a video that was from 6ix9ine, and that video showcased the crime. I didn't record the video, whatever, but I posted it. They wanted to say to me, hey, you're not in trouble. By the way, we have all his phones, but we have to do our due diligence. We want the original video. The video I posted had my watermark on it. They wanted the full video. I did post the whole video. There was nothing that was like cropped out or whatever. They didn't want the watermark. Also, they wanted to see if maybe there was more at the end, more at the beginning. Eventually, I worked with a lawyer. We gave them the video. Through understanding what they wanted, they were very stern and strict. They said, hey, listen, we could do this the easy way. We only want the video. Or we could put you in a grand jury, we'll subpoena you, and now you're in a gang indictment against one of these crazy ass gangs, and you're gonna have to be up there on that grand jury being subpoenaed, and who knows if you get involved in the case. Nobody wants to do that. We thought about possibly not giving the video over. It was very clear they had the video. First of all, the video was out online.
Well, yeah, when it comes to cases, they need the source file.
Yes.
They can't just take a copy from Instagram.
Yes.
Yeah, same thing happened to me with the Jimmy Henchman case. Yeah. They had my interview.
Except you
but
said no.
I wouldn't. But I said no. I fought it. I spent $10,000. They couldn't get it.
Yeah. It was gonna be worth the headache. And also, if you understand how the feds work, they're looking at you, because even when we went in eventually and not only did we turn over the video, they asked a few questions. And I remember they were asking some ridiculous questions. Like, you ever seen this guy shoot somebody? I'm like, no. And they essentially said after the end, yeah, every time you've ever hung out with 6ix9ine, I was watching it. It was one officer who was deputized, an NYPD guy. He was deputized as feds, working for the Southern District of New York. What that told me, the feds knew everything, right? What also, just given a video they already had, why we also did that, is that you didn't want to make it difficult. You didn't want them to start interpreting things in a different way. Mm-hmm. I hung out with 6ix9ine a good amount of times. No time that he was ever doing crime. No time that he was ever plotting a crime. However, the feds have their ways. And the Southern District of New York, it wasn't worth playing hardball with them. Okay?
Yeah.
And
although I did play hardball with the Southern District of New York.
Well.
And I won.
You didn't win. I mean, you might think you won because, again, whatever they're asking for, they have.
Right.
Right? Like,
well, it wasn't being able. I stopped them from using it in Jimmy Henchman's appeal trial. So he was still found guilty.
Hold on. Did they ever reference it? Again, they would have had the trial just as is if they never got the video from me.
Right.
They already have the video, right? I'm pretty sure they have your.
But they can't use it because without the source file,
Well,
it's not usable.
so they weren't able to use any of your interviews, even the ones public?
No.
Okay, well, that might be different.
I took those videos down. Jimmy asked me to take them down the day after they went up. I took them down.
So they didn't have a copy?
They had a copy because people had reposted it, but they needed my original, and I said no. Without the original, it can't be used in the case.
That's not true.
No, it is true. It's absolutely true because you can't authenticate. For example, the Shannon Sharp situation, right? Yeah. It's cute that Tony Busby's putting out this little audio clip. Look, me and Shannon don't get along. It's not that I'm, I'm not taking shots at him. I'm just telling him, I'm just saying what it is because fair is fair. Yes, these little audio clips of him saying that he choker sounds crazy, but in order for this audio to be played to a jury in court, that girl has to provide the original source recording of that tape. So if it was 10 minutes, the entire 10 minutes before and after that has to be submitted. Because otherwise, you don't know what's on there. It could have been like, okay, listen, let's do a little role play thing, okay? I'm going to say I'm going to choke you, and you're going to sound scared. Okay, let's go. That could have been before that.
That's a way to possibly get thrown out, but they do it all the time.
It will get thrown out. I've been through cases. Hold on. It will get thrown out.
All right, so Vlad, so you're telling me that whether it's a YSL case or anything else, all them Instagram videos they put up, they got the source file, or they could use your social media postings, man. Like if you think that a video online, because they can't get to the person who has the original video.
I see what you're saying. But that's a little bit different. If you could say, if you say that's the original post that the person made.
Put it like this. The video.
That's why they wanted it without the watermark and all that.
The reason that they definitely wanted it, they wanted to see. So I'll describe the video. It's 6ix9ine in the video recording Shotty and them robbing niggas at G-Unit studio. Or G-Unit downstairs at the G-Unit thing. So Shotty and them run up on some niggas who supposedly was rap a lot. And 6ix9ine's in the car recording it. To really they're trying to build a case about that. Apparently, one of the guys that got robbed talked to the cops already. So they have him as a witness, but they just want more info. So you know what they want? They want maybe if the video is longer and the dudes went after they rob him, because supposedly Shotty got a gun in his hand and it's like, yo, give it up. If Shotty and them run back to the vehicle that 6ix9ine is in, it makes sense y'all are all in it. The video cuts off before they get back to the car. So they wanted to see maybe it's clipped. And by the way, here's the thing too. They had 6ix9ine phones. They probably got the version, another version of the video from there too, or other videos are recorded. So again, that's the main reason why they wanted to get that video. Because the video, I think the video started out, I can't remember fully how it started out. I don't even think I cropped it. I think I just posted as is.
Yeah.
But they wanted to see the before and after because it would implicate, or let's say 6ix9ine started recording and his face was in the video, then he flips the camera. They wanted to see that type of shit, right? So that's why they want it. It's not that they couldn't use that video. They also used amateur videos of Shotty hopping out the car shooting at niggas. They didn't go hunt down the person who had the video like, oh, we need it. No, now granted, that might be like, say with the Shannon Sharp shit, to do your due diligence, you're gonna wanna have the source video of that. You know why? Your case is gonna look crazy if the source video, because Shannon's team is gonna subpoena that. And you have to give something.
Right.
So if you don't give anything, that looks fishy, right? So if you don't give it fully unedited, it looks fishy. If you lie about it and you give some altered version, the judge is gonna throw that case out.
Right.
You like the way they treat evidence, you have to give it over if it exists. You get what I'm saying? But if it's only a amateur video of some shit happening, they could use that. Like a video is gonna be a video. So that's what I would say with that. But the idea that they need the source file of every video, it'll be a great show out here.
Well, back to the Wack100 Big U situation. Okay. So I guess Wack and Loose Cannon are beefy now?
Okay, so let me keep walking you through this. So that's my understanding of how the feds moved. Now granted, it's the Southern District of New York. When they pull up on me, it was Homeland Security. Okay, so Homeland Security works very, 9/11 happened here. So Homeland Security, FBI, and all these deputized NYPD hip hop police guys, they work in tandem, right? I don't know how it works in California, but I would safely assume, and that's how I was assuming, if they came to talk to me, and by the way, it wasn't just here's the video, they wanted to ask a few questions, okay? Let you know, and your lawyer's sitting there with you. And obviously they were asking me some ridiculous questions. Some of them were rhetorical because they were surveilling 6ix9ine way before. They even told me at the end, we kind of knew all these answers, but we needed to get it from you. We needed to still ask you these questions. And also, anytime you get questioned by the feds, if you lie, you just basically fucked yourself up even more. You put yourself in a vice grip.
Yeah.
So I said, after the big indictment came down, I said, I kind of think I know how this is gonna go. A lot of content's been coming out of No Jumper about the situation. They're gonna go talk to Adam. And if it's anything like what happened with me, they're gonna ask for any videos, any paperwork that was sent, right? I think that was the cease and desist. And they'll probably ask Adam some questions. Okay? Hey, have you ever seen Brick Baby shoot somebody? You ever seen Brick Baby pistol whip somebody? You ever seen A, B, C, and D? And maybe all those, and hopefully all those are no. Then I said, what might happen as well after reading the indictment, I said, well, Wack is in the indictment as someone that Big U had sought to do physical harm to. It's a fair assumption they might try to go talk to him just to see if maybe he could give them some more information about things that they don't know to have happened. Wack blew up on me. Like, he was so offended by that very notion, right? I thought it was fair, but he clearly did not. Anyway, he also did tell me later, he said he's never spoken to the federal authorities about that situation. Okay, so since that's happened, Big U's incarcerated, Loose Cannon's incarcerated, Brick Baby's incarcerated. The most bizarre thing, and I've never seen this ever in life, they're calling back to 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 back from jail. Jail's supposed to be a holding place until you go to trial. Every day. To the point, like, at first I was ducking their calls. Because I'm like, that little ominous, this call is from a federal jail. If you want, I hate that. It just tells you this is being listened to by a prosecutor.
Right.
So I never really wanted, but then when I did, because I felt like, kind of feel like I'm fucked up, and I'm like, these guys are like, damn, you're kind of, even though I don't even know them that well, I'd answer the call, and they would literally tell me, yeah, we're doing some content. And I was confused. I'm like, wait, you guys are doing content in jail? And exactly what happened. So I've been kind of watching all of that happen. They're doing this content thing, and I've gotten to the point after, some conversations, not only with Wack, but it seems like this keeps evolving and devolving into some really interesting but weird places. I'm checked out of that now. I'm gonna tell you why. It's very clear that there's continued investigations going on, and that there are crimes that have not been solved that they think these guys are gonna talk them into the answer. They are allowing these guys, I'm gonna give you an example, like, this is why it's weird to me too. First time I talked to Diddy was when 6ix9ine was locked up. 6ix9ine passes him the phone. They're in the same little pod. Very next time Diddy goes to court, it's in the paperwork for the detention hearing. Diddy keeps using other people's phones. We've had to raid a cell. We've had to do this. They know what's going on. They're not like just fucking twiddling their thumbs while you're using other inmates' cell phone, or three-way calling is not allowed. They're not just sleeping while you're going viral online from the jail.
Right.
Because I'm seeing this happen, I feel like there's some other stuff that I don't know. I only asked Wack, but Wack recently, he finally made a personal request of mine. Like, if you made a personal request of mine, be like, hey, Ack, listen, this situation about me, could you please not talk about it as my friend? I would stop talking about it because you're my friend. Wack recently said that to me about this Loose Cannon thing. And I used to say to him before, I said, Wack, I feel like you're still doing content, but I'm like, I don't feel like you're that separated from what's going on. And he was just like, nephew, I'm gonna keep doing the content. But it's the first time recently he said, listen, I would ask for you to stop doing this type of content about it. So I don't know what's going on, my man. Like,
yeah, man, I'm trying to stay out of it. I mean, I know Brick Baby, I know Big U, I obviously know Wack.
The Wack and Loose thing, I don't know what's going on.
I don't get these jail phone calls myself. I mean,
I told Wack on the phone when I was
Brick
talking to him.
has my phone number. You know, Loose Cannon, I've never had on my show. But yeah, I mean, it is crazy. They're constantly calling in and creating content while sitting in jail. When there's ever a time not to talk about something, would be right now. This is the best time to be quiet. The best time. Talk all you want after you accept a plea deal, you get dropped, or you take your sentence.
Yeah.
You get a guilty verdict. If that's what happens. But right now, I mean, listen, I've gone through court cases and I've done interviews, and those interviews were used against me in the court case. So I know what it's like.
Yeah.
And especially if you're creating content, you feel like, well, you got to keep creating content. But sometimes your lawyer will tell you to shut the fuck up. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna end it. Akademiks, always a pleasure. Till next time.
I thought we were going to talk about Shannon Sharp. We didn't get into that.
We kind of talked about it a little bit. We touched on it.
Yeah, Shannon Sharp shit is wild, but yeah,
It is wild, But I've talked about it in other interviews, so, I feel like I've kind of covered it enough, but, but I kind of try to focus on hip-hop with you, most of the other stuff. So that's what it is. Till next time. Peace.
Next time, Vlad.